Mtazamaji, kitambulisho hicho ni ishara tosha. Tunaanza taarifa za upeo wa TV47. Tumekuandalia taarifa tumbe nzima, lakini mwanzo tupate vidokezo yajayo katika upeo wa TV47.
Pleased to introduce to you some of our families that are here with us today.
Mfalme Charles wa tatu na mkewe Malkia Camilla wazuru pwani ya Kenya katika siku ya tatu ya ziara yao humu nchini. Rais William Ruto afanyia mabadiliko muundo wa serikali yake katika hatua inayoonekana kumpa Waziri Moses Kuria mamlaka zaidi. Mtu mmoja asombwa na mafuriko kaunti ya Isiolo, huku lori lililokuwa na watu 9 likizama kaunti ya Samburu. Mvua kubwa ikiendelea kurindima maeneo mbalimbali nchini. Na kiongozi wa genge linalosemekana kushambulia na kubaka wakazi Nyamira akamatwa. Na mtazamaji, sasa karibu kwa takriban dakika 25 hivi tukufahamishe taarifa kwa kina ili uzidi kumakinika. Wanakwetu wananiita Joash Onsare, mtafsiri kwenye lugha ya ishara anafahamika kama Catherine Simaloi. Moja kwa moja ni kwamba Mfalme Charles wa tatu kama kapteni mkuu wa wanamaji wa kifalme akiandamana na mkewe Malkia Camilla walifika katika kituo cha jeshi la wanamaji Mtongwe, kaunti ya Mombasa, kushuhudia ushirikiano kati ya wanajeshi wa majini wa Kenya na wale wa Uingereza walipoelekezwa na Rais William Ruto. Naibu wa Rais Rigathi Gachagua, mama wa taifa, miongoni mwa viongozi wengine wanandoa wa kifalme walipata fursa ya kuzuru fukwe za Nyali na kutangamana na wanaharakati wa mazingira, anavyoarifu Paul Munio.
Dakika chache kabla ya Mfalme Charles wa tatu kufika kwenye makao makuu ya jeshi la majini la Kenya, Rais William Ruto alikuwa amekwisha fika tayari kuwapokea wageni hawa wa kifalme. Waliwasili baadaye kutumia mashua iliyokuwa imelindwa vilivyo, na wawili hao kuzungukwa na walinzi wakiwa wamejihami na ujuzi wa hali ya juu. Kwa utaratibu, mfalme wa Uingereza alielekea jukwaani ambapo nyimbo za taifa la Uingereza na Kenya zilichezwa. Gumosi Gupili alilikagua gwaride lililokuwa limeandaliwa kumkaribisha alipopita kando na katikati wa wanajeshi hawa waliokuwa wamesimama wima wakiwa kwenye sare zao za sherehe. Kikosi cha wataalam 10 cha mafunzo kutoka kwa makomando 40 wa wanamaji wa kifalme walishirikisha wanajeshi wa majini 26 wa Kenya katika mafunzo ya kina kwa angalau wiki 12 ili kuwawezesha kuwa na ujuzi wa hali ya juu wa kukabiliana na vitisho na ugaidi kwenye mipaka ya Kenya majini. Wanajeshi hao waliokuwa wamepokea mafunzo na kufuzu waliandaa maonyesho mbele ya mfalme na Rais William Ruto, ambapo walidhihirisha ujuzi wa hali ya juu ambao utatumika kulinda taifa mipakani upande wa baharini. Isitoshe, wanandoa hao wa kifalme walipata fursa ya kukutana na familia za wanajeshi wa majini ya Kenya kabla ya kuzungumza na kikosi cha Uingereza maarufu Royal Marines. Katika kumbukumbu ya miaka 358 ya kuanzishwa kwa kikosi cha ulinzi cha Uingereza cha Corps, Mfalme Charles wa tatu alitangazwa kama kapteni mkuu wa wanajeshi wa majini wa kifalme na amewahi kuhudumu katika kitengo cha wanajeshi hao kama rubani wa helikopta. Hapo kesho, ziara ya Mfalme Charles wa tatu na Malkia Camilla itafikia kikomo baada ya kuzuru Cathedral ya Mombasa, makavazi ya Fort Jesus na maeneo mengine. Paul Munio, runinga TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Mombasa.
Mtazamaji, tuangazie taarifa nyingine. Waziri wa utumishi wa umma Moses Kuria amepata mamlaka zaidi baada ya Rais William Ruto kuhamisha wadhifa wa kuwapiga msasa mawaziri na makatibu hadi wizara yake. Wadhifa huo hapo mbeleni ulikuwa chini ya waziri mwenye mamlaka Musalia Mudavadi, ambaye atachukua wizara mpya ya mambo ya kigeni, nayo wizara ya uchumi wa kidijitali, kwa kimombo digital economy, ikihamishwa kutoka wizara ya mawasiliano na teknolojia hadi katika afisi ya Rais Ikulu. Kwenye taarifa nyingine, mvua kubwa inayoendelea kunyesha katika sehemu mbalimbali nchini imesababisha madhara na hasara kubwa, huku ikitarajiwa kuongezeka. Mvua hiyo imemsomba mtu mmoja katika kaunti ya Isiolo, huku lori moja lililokuwa na watu 9 likizama katika maji ya mafuriko katika kaunti ya Samburu. Shughuli ya uokoaji ilikuwa ikiendelezwa, huku ndege ya hifadhi ya wanyamapori ya Lewa ikitumika katika shughuli hiyo.
Maji mengi yanaonekana yakitiririka, utadhani ni ziwa. Watu wanatafuta maeneo ya juu ili maji hayo yasiwasombe. Hii ni baada ya mvua kubwa ambayo inaendelea katika sehemu mbalimbali nchini. Katika sehemu ya Burat, kaunti ya Isiolo, mwili wa mwanamume mmoja ungali unasakwa, huku pikipiki na watu wawili ikiwemo dereva na abiria mmoja wakiokolewa baada ya kujaribu kuvuka mto Isiolo. Inadaiwa kwa watatu hao walikaidi onyo la kutovuka mto Isiolo ambao umefurika kutokana na mvua kubwa inayonyesha. Kamishna wa polisi katika eneo hilo la Isiolo Kaskazini, William Kiambi, alikuwa amewaonya wakazi kutovuka mto huo, akisisitiza kuwa wasubiri viwango vya maji kuteremka.
Sasa ndio zinapata mora.
Mvua hiyo pia inatazamiwa kusababisha hasara kubwa ya miundo msingi, huku maji ya mvua yakizagaa katika shule za eneo hilo.
Hatujui serikali ya kaunti iko wapi.
Katika eneo la Samburu, lori moja imesombwa na maji iliyotokana na mvua kubwa katika eneo la makutano ya Lerata na Wamba. Ndege ya hifadhi ya wanyamapori ya Lewa ikisaidia katika shughuli za kuokoa dereva pamoja na abiria wake 9 waliokuwa katika safari ya kununua nafaka za biashara Samburu mjini. 9 hao waliokolewa, ila juhudi zao za kuokoa lori hilo zikiambulia patupu. Mvua hii kubwa inakadiriwa kuendelea kunyesha katika sehemu mbalimbali nchini, huku Wakenya wakionywa kukaa mbali na maji yanayoweza kusababisha madhara makubwa kama maafa na uharibifu.
Mtazamaji, tuangazie taarifa nyingine. Serikali ya Rais William Ruto sasa imetakiwa kutimiza ahadi ilizotoa wakati wa kampeni za uchaguzi mkuu wa mwaka jana. Na mazungumzo ya maridhiano yakiendelea katika ukumbi wa Bomas, baadhi ya wabunge wanahisi kuwa kamati hiyo inawapotezea Wakenya muda badala ya kuwasilisha hoja zenye utata mbele ya kamati ya biashara ya bunge la kitaifa kwa mijadala. Mike Kagwango na uketo wa taarifa hii.
Thank you. You didn't get me. Huku mazungumzo ya maridhiano baina ya muungano wa Kenya Kwanza na ule wa Azimio yakipaniwa kuendelea tena Jumatatu wiki ijayo, muungano wa Azimio la Umoja umeshikilia kuwa hautakubaliana na matokeo ya mazungumzo iwapo hayatangazia suala la gharama ya juu ya maisha. Wakizungumza kwenye mkutano wa kubuni sera za mwaka za chama cha NAK Kenya mapema hii leo, viongozi wa chama hicho wamesema ni wakati mwafaka Rais William Ruto akome kutoa ahadi zingine bila kutimiza za awali.
The truth of the matter is that they have not achieved much. Nothing for women has been achieved. The cost of living has continued to skyrocket. Kuna familia kama watu wale wengine, lakini tunaambiwa kwamba tutapewa cash transfer tukiwa na 70 years. Well, mtu akiwa na disability kufikisha miaka 70 ni ngumu sana. Kinara
wa chama cha NAK Kenya Martha Karua ameitaka serikali ya Rais William Ruto kuzilipa familia fidia waliopoteza maisha kwenye maandamano ya Azimio dhidi ya Kenya Kwanza, sawa na ilivyozifidia familia za watu waliopoteza maisha yao mjini Kericho.
And that is a good thing to do. Move now and compensate the families of those who were killed on your orders brutally.
Karua anasema iwapo matakwa yao hayatazingatiwa jinsi walivyopendekeza, muungano huo hautakuwa na budi ila kurejelea maandamano hayo ya kuishinikiza serikali kupunguza gharama ya juu ya maisha.
If there is no agreement on those first two issues, then you can be sure that our issues have not been covered. We did not go to the streets to give people jobs. We went to the streets because of Kenyans. Should it become necessary, we will.
Lakini hata mazungumzo yakitarajiwa kurejelewa, mwenyekiti wa kamati ya bunge ya fedha na mipango ambaye pia ni mbunge wa Molo Kimani Kuria ana maoni kwamba kamati hiyo ya wajumbe 10 inawapotezea Wakenya muda badala ya kuwasilisha hoja zenye utata mbele ya kamati ya biashara ya bunge kwa mijadala.
The talks are useless. They are a waste of time. Because these people, the decisions that they should be making at the floor of the House. So they are all, the main players are members of parliament, and even the ones that are not members of parliament are leaders of political parties.
Mazungumzo hayo yatarejelewa tena Jumatatu wiki ijayo katika ukumbi wa mikutano wa Bomas hapa jijini Nairobi, baada ya kupokea hoja kutoka kwa Wakenya zaidi kuhusu gharama ya maisha mapema wiki hii. Mike Kagwongo, TV47, Nairobi.
Including the armed forces, is called in aid of...
Shukran Mike Kagwongo. Tuangazie masuala ya usalama. Vita dhidi ya ujambazi vinapozidi kushika kasi, operesheni dhidi ya majambazi na wahalifu wenye silaha hatari katika mkoa wa kaskazini mwa bonde la Ufa zitaongezewa nguvu kama namna ya kutekeleza sheria. Akiongea akiwa katika kaunti ya Laikipia kwa mujibu wa tathmini ya operesheni ya usalama, waziri wa masuala ya ndani Kithure Kindiki amesisitiza kuwa serikali inachukua swala hilo kwa uzito mkubwa, akisema kwamba maafisa usalama watasalia uwanjani kwa muda mrefu hadi tishio la ujambazi litakapotokomezwa. Wanasiasa katika kaunti hiyo ya Baringo akiwemo seneta, wabunge na mwakilishi wa kike wamesisitiza haja ya kuzungumza na wananchi wa kaunti hiyo kuhusu amani katika wakati ambapo kumekuwa na msukosuko wa kiusalama katika kaunti hiyo.
At the beginning of this operation, we are not here for a one-off operation. We are here for good. We are not going to pull out the deployments that you see in Northern Rift Valley. We will not downscale or even call off this operation. And the government is prepared to spend any amount of time in this fight to make sure that we not only sustain the fight against bandits, but we eradicate it.
We have sat down as leaders of the county, and we have spoken in one voice that we are going from this weekend next week to go around. We have been able to look at a number of areas where we as leaders of the county, all the members of parliament, are going to engage in a caravan around the areas of Baringo North, Baringo South.
The meeting today gave us a roadmap to a long-term solution where we would engage one another at the expense of giving results to this menace that has been, visiting Baringo County all the time.
Kwingineko, ziara ya maendeleo ya Rais William Ruto maeneo ya Pwani imeng'oa nanga rasmi leo, rais akilenga kuzindua miradi ya maendeleo kwa wakazi wa Pwani kwa kipindi cha siku 5 zijazo. Rais Ruto ameandamana leo na naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua baada ya kutoka Ujerumani. Paul Kirobi na taarifa kamili.
Huku ziara ya Mfalme Charles wa 3 ikiingia siku ya 3 na kufanyika katika eneo la Mombasa, Rais William Ruto ametumia fursa hiyo kuanza rasmi ziara yake maeneo ya Pwani. Rais Ruto akiwaahidi wakazi wa Pwani maendeleo tele kupitia kwa miradi mbalimbali. Katika kufanikisha haya, rais amewashauri wabunge wabadilishe sheria ya hazina ya maendeleo ya maeneo bunge ili kuhakikisha wakazi wa Pwani wanafaidika na mpango wa masuala ya habari na mawasiliano, nyumba za bei nafuu pamoja na nafasi za ajira ambazo zinapatikana katika uchumi wa majini.
Hatutaki tena tuwe na vijana ambao hawana namna, hawana vile ya kujimudu, hawana vile wanaweza kusaidia familia zao ama kujisaidia wenyewe. We want to expand opportunities for every young people to contribute their energy, their talent, their knowledge katika kuendesha taifa letu la Kenya.
Katika siku ya kwanza na ziara yake maeneo ya Pwani, rais alizuru maeneo ya kaunti ya Mombasa pamoja na Kwale. Akiwa katika kaunti ya Kwale maeneo ya Wasini, rais alisitiza kwamba mradi wa serikali wa kuwepo kwa umeme utasaidia wakazi wa Kwale kufaidika na umeme pamoja na sehemu za uvuvi wa samaki.
Na mimi nataka nimpongeze gavana hapa, Mama Fatuma Achani, kwa ile kazi amefanya pale kwa landing site. Tunakubaliana ya kwamba harakati hii ya kupeleka Kenya mbele itajumuisha wananchi wote. Na ndio mimi nataka niwaulize wananchi wa hapa Mkwiro na Wasini, mjue nyinyi ni washirika wetu na mpango yetu ni kufanya kazi pamoja na nyinyi.
Leo hii umetuanzishia rasmi mradi ule wa mataa, mradi ambao sisi kama county government tumetengeneza landing site, lakini bado hatuja equip. Na leo vile baba umefika, mimi nina imani sitakuwa na stress sana ya kubudget, kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Rais umefika, utaweza kutusaidia na kuequip ile landing site ambayo iko na.
Siku ya Ijumaa rais anatarajiwa kuhudhuria mkutano wa mawaziri katika ikulu ya Mombasa, kisha kufanya ziara ya maendeleo katika uwanja wa ndege wa kimataifa wa Moi. Pia atahudhuria hafla ya siku ya ulipaji ushuru na kutoa msaada wa fedha kwa makundi ya wavuvi. Siku ya Jumamosi rais anatarajiwa kuzuru eneo la Lamu, ambapo atazindua barabara ya Lamu Mashariki kabla ya kukagua ujenzi wa taasisi ya ufundi ya Lamu pamoja na mradi wa unyunyuziaji mimea maji wa Bura. Paul Kirobi, TV47.
Na mtazamaji, taarifa yake ya Paul Kirobi ndo ambayo inatupeleka kwenye mapumziko mafupi. Tutakuwa narejea na taarifa zaidi muhimu, endelea kuganda nasi.
This Diwali, let's pledge to light up more.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for.
That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Moyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the home of Untold Stories.
Mtazamaji, karibu tena, niendelea kukupasha taarifa hizi za upeo wa TV47. Familia moja eneo la Machakos imesalia gizani kuhusu hatima ya mwanao aliyelazwa katika hospitali ya Machakos level 5 katika njia tatanishi. Na kama anavyotuelezea mwanahabari wetu Nicholas Mbai, hali ya sintofahamu imetanda baada ya ripoti ambazo hazijathibitishwa kusema kuwa mtoto huyo amefariki.
Jumatano, Nicholas Chalo Kitonya alifika katika hospitali ya rufaa ya Machakos level 5 kumpeleka mwanawe kufanyiwa upasuaji mkononi na kuondolewa uvimbe, lakini kufikia sasa elewi kilichopelekea mwanawe kuwa katika chumba cha wagonjwa mahututi.
Nilileta mtoto wangu kwa theater akiwa na uvimbe kwa mkono wa kushoto. Alipoingia theater tulimaliza dakika 40 minutes na nikaitwa na daktari, akaniambia kuna shida imeingia. Nikamuuliza ni shida gani imeingia katika mtoto na hakuwa mgonjwa. Akaniambia mtoto wako na complications.
Mambo yakionekana kwenda sege mnege katika hospitali hiyo na kupelekea mtoto huyo wa miaka 6 kulazwa katika chumba cha wagonjwa mahututi katika hospitali hiyo, na kulingana na barua iliyopokelewa na maafisa wa chama cha Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council kutoka hospitali ya rufaa ya Machakos ni kwamba upasuaji wa mtoto huyo huenda kufanyika sawa kama ilivyotarajiwa na tayari uchunguzi umeanza.
We took the initiative as a county and reported the matter through the MedSup to the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council. The Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council, which is mandated by law to inquire into cases of medical malpractice or medical negligence and the like, have already acknowledged receipt of our letter.
Waziri wa afya katika wizara ya afya ya kaunti ya Machakos Daniel Yumbia mapema leo akitoa taarifa kwa vyombo vya habari kwamba mtoto huyo yungali katika hali mahututi siku 7 baada ya upasuaji.
I want to confirm as follows that we have a patient who came for operation and there were complications and the patient was admitted in the ICU. As we speak, the patient is still in ICU, but in critical condition.
Huku akibaini habari kuhusu kisa hicho, usimamizi wa hospitali hiyo nakiri kwamba kisa hicho kimezua joto, hali ya sintofahamu. Sasa familia ikisalia katika giza kuhusu uhai wa mwanao waliotarajia kurudi nayo nyumbani siku ya upasuaji. Nicholas Mbai, runinga ya TV47, kaunti ya Machakos.
Na mtazamaji, tuachane na taarifa hiyo. Kwingineko, maafisa wa DCI wamemtia mbaroni mmoja wa washukiwa wa genge lililohusika na wizi wa kimabavu uliofanyika tarehe 23 Oktoba katika eneo la Keroka, kijiji cha Kieirira, katika boma moja, na kuacha majeruhi zaidi ya 13 na kutoweka na mali ya thamani isiyojulikana. Wanahabari wetu Kombo Alfayo na taarifa hiyo.
Polisi katika kaunti ya Nyamira wamemkamata mshukiwa anayehusikana na uvamizi uliodumu takriban saa 7, ambapo watu kadhaa walijeruhiwa na mali ya thamani isiyojulikana kuibiwa, huku pesa zaidi ya 100,000 kuibiwa na zingine kutolewa katika mashini ya ATM. Kulingana na washahidi, genge hili lilikuwa limejihami kweli kweli kwa silaha mbalimbali ikiwemo panga, rungu na bastola.
Walikuwa watu kama zaidi ya 10 na wengi wao walikuwa na bunduki. Kwa hivyo walikusanya watu wote wa kutoka nyumba mbalimbali na wakawaweka wote kwa nyumba moja. Sasa walienda na pesa ambao walitoa kutoka kwetu na tuliwapatia ATM, wakaenda Keroka, Equity Bank, wakatoa pesa kutoka huko.
Mshukiwa huyo Joseph Otieno Kivuva amekamatwa na maafisa wa upelelezi waliofuatilia mienendo yake hadi katika eneo la Kondele jijini Kisumu alikokuwa akijificha. Kivuva anadaiwa kuwa kati ya genge la watu 10 waliovamia boma moja na kuishi mwakilishi wadi mteule bunge la Nyamira na waziri wa elimu Nyamira na kuwajeruhi vibaya watu 13 huku wengine kubakwa. Tukio hilo lilifanyika tarehe 23 Oktoba kuanzia saa 3 usiku hadi saa 10 alfajiri ya tarehe 24. Maafisa hao polisi wameomba kumzulia mshukiwa huyu huku uchunguzi wa kina ukiendelea ili kusaidia kwa uchunguzi. Kombo Alfayo nikiripotia TV47 Nyamira.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for.
That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Moyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the home of Untold Stories.
Katika majengo haya, hapa ndipo sheria zinapotungwa na zinapopakuliwa. Nitakuletea viongozi mbalimbali, mirengo mbalimbali, wote kwa pamoja wakipika na kupakua. Tutawapa nafasi kuweza kuangazia changamoto na mafanikio ya ugatuzi katika ukumbi wa siasa kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 1 kamili na kuendelea.
Toka eneo hili la Naivasha kwenye kaunti 032, gatuzi la Nakuru.
Toka kaunti ya Elgeyo Marakwet, kaunti 028.
Nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Wajir.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Turukana.
Kwa matukio yote yanayojiri katika kaunti hii 012.
Kutoka kaunti nambari 1, kaunti ya Mombasa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Lamu.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka Kisii County.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Machakos.
Kutoka kaunti hii ya Trans Nzoia.
Kaunti 038.
Kutoka gatuzi nambari 029, kaunti ya Nandi, chemichemi ya mabingwa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Kakamega.
Nitakuwa nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Bungoma.
Jina langu ni Paula Munio.
Willy Dennis Jiru.
Fabian Kibet.
Mimi ni Hashim Jimal.
Mimi ni Kitio Mika Masai.
John Javakiania.
Jina langu ni Abdulaziz Nameka.
Mimi ni Kombo Alfayo.
Jina langu ni Nicholas Mbai.
Isaac Famba.
Mimi ni Wanji Sosti.
Jina langu ni Arnold Adidi.
Jina langu ni Chris Bet.
Jina langu ni Violet Auma.
Na TV47 inapotamba, mimi Sheila Chelangat nitakuwa nikiripotia maswala yanayokuhusu wewe kila kuchao. Every Thursday 7:30 p.m. unapata nafasi kufahamu viongozi mbalimbali kutoka humu nchini, kuanzia wabunge.
Through Changa we could get money to pay our rent, to pay our bills.
When I was growing up, water was a problem where I was born and bred. We wake up at 3 to go and look for water.
Magavana
must be ready to be a tough woman and not a woman to be walked over.
Kwa hivyo
you respect people.
Ndani ya Mfahamu Kiongozi, story na historia, na mi Elizabeth Muchuku.
Kwa mirindimo kemkem ya michezo, mahojiano ya kipekee na mabingwa wetu, makala ya kuvutia pamoja na matukio mubashara viwanjani. Shabiki, tutapiga mbizi katika kila kiwanja, ndani na hata nje ya nchi. Mtazamaji, uko tayari? Ni kazi michezoni ama michezo kazini? Ungana nami Ahmed Bahaj, sajili mpya nimefika katika kipindi cha kipekee Mchaka Mchaka. Zitatoka cheche, tutapiga mstari chini yake. Si bora michezo, ni michezo kwa ubora wake. Mcheche.
They say money makes the world go round. So let's slow things down a bit. Put things in perspective. From the markets to the streets to the stocks, we make the complex comprehensible. Join me, Hibak Saeed, on TV47 Business News for market insights like never before.
What's making the headlines? What does it mean to you? How does it affect you? We answer all these questions every Sunday for half an hour on To The Point Show. Hey, I'm Grace Kuriakanja, and a lot has happened this week. Let's dive into it.
Wanasema wasemao kuwa elimu ni bahari haiishi kwa kuchotwa. Wakati mwingi natangamana na wanafunzi madarasani, sio kama mwalimu bali kama nahodha kwenye kipindi cha tasnia ya elimu. Na iwapo utanikosa madarasani, basi utanipata nyanjani nikisaka habari zenye usawa, ufasaha na ukweli. Na iwapo utanikosa nyanjani, bila shaka utanipata studioni hapa nikisoma habari na kuendesha mijadala mikomavu. Mimi ni Andrin Kilemi, mpenzi wa lugha ya Kiswahili na elimu kwa jumla.
Well, if it is happening, then we are definitely talking about it on TV47's Disruptive Friday. Don't miss a moment on the most technological and disruptive moment on TV.
From groundbreaking AI breakthroughs to the latest ingenious innovations, we have it all covered for you. Get ready to see the future unfold right in front of your eyes. My name is Eric Munene.
And my name is Linda Alala, and we not promise nothing short of great news experience.
Suitable for general family viewing.
Alhamisi nyingine katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, na hilo nipo katika County 001 ambapo nitakuwa nikizungumza naye Seneta wa Mombasa Mohamed Faki kusikia story na historia. Alizaliwa wapi, life ilikuwa namna gani, lakini nilipoingia hapa nimeambiwa yupo katika zoezi. Wacha tuone yupo namna gani.
Marhaba.
Umeamka namna gani?
Salama, asalamu alaykum.
Yes, naona unakaa zoezi.
Karibuni Mombasa.
Asante sana. Unaingia hapa saa ngapi?
Hapa huwa tunakuja from 6:30. 6:30 in the morning up to about 8. Sometimes when the game is very good, we go up to 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. Yes. Then you go back?
Then you go back and continue with your normal routine.
Kama leo kuna events kama ngapi?
Kama leo there are about 4 events.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm looking forward kwenda kadhaa.
Yes.
Tukisikia story na historia yako.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Nilikuacha kule field. Flag off chenye ulikuwa una flag off?
Flag off wale leo we are celebrating, we are observing the day for Spafida.
Okay.
These children born with autism and hydrocephalus conditions.
Okay. That is what you are doing. Acha tusikie story na story yako sasa. Okay. Nina keti wapi? Popote pale. All right. Naomba kuketi karibu na wewe.
Sawa, karibu.
Okay. And this is a beautiful breakfast.
Tajaribu.
Bila shaka nipo hapa kwa ajili ya this breakfast na mheshimiwa, lakini siwezi kuanza kabla sijanawa mikono. 1 minute. Na mikono kisha I come back. We do this. Mwesh, you have a very beautiful house. Very beautiful house.
Karibu.
Asante. Tukianza story, ulizaliwa wapi Mwesh?
Nilizaliwa Changamwe.
Changamwe?
Hapo karibu na airport.
Katika familia ya watu wangapi?
Tulikuwa 10. Lakini mmoja alifariki, msichana akiwa mdogo.
Watu 10? Mama mmoja?
Mama mmoja, baba mmoja.
Life ilikuwa namna gani?
Life ilikuwa nzuri.
Ilikuwa nzuri. Haikuwa life ya umaskini. Maanake wengine watakwambia tulipitia umaskini.
Ni umaskini, lakini we could manage a meal. Our parents could manage taking us to school.
Ulikuwa wakati huu wote, nipe taswira ya maisha ya utotoni. Yalikuwa namna gani? Maanake watu wengi watakwambia nilikwenda skuli hapa, nilikuwa na maisha yapo namna hii.
Sisi tulizaliwa huko kijiji cha Magosi, just outside the airport hapa Mombasa. Then we relocated in 1972. We relocated to Jomvu on the other side of the airport. Lakini shule kaa bado tunasomea Bomu. Bomu is in Portrees Ward in Changamwe constituency. Kwa hivyo ikawa bado tunasoma huko, hata sote sisi tulisomea huko. Except I think 1 or 2 wale wa mwisho ambao ndio walisoma on the other side Miritini.
Wote walisoma, nyinyi wote 9 wenye walikuwa wamebaki mlisoma.
Sote tulisoma.
Wakati huu ukikwenda shuleni kila asubuhi, ulikuwa na ndoto ya kuwa nini maishani? Maanake utasikia watoto wakikwambia want to be a pilot, want to be an engineer. Kwako ilikuwa namna gani?
Sisi tuliingia darasani kusoma.
Hakukuwa na ndoto.
Tulikuwa hatuna ndoto. But our elder brother was a banker. I think he started working with the bank in 1974 when I was in class 3. No, class 2. Because I started standard 1 in 1973. 74 yakawa anafanya kazi benki.
Na hivyo huyo ndiye mtu alikuwa role model. Kila mtu akawa anafikiria anastahili kukuwa banka. Ukasoma Portrees, ukamaliza. Wakati huu ukakwenda wapi?
Nikasoma Bomu, nikamaliza, nikaenda Chuda Day Secondary in town. Chuda Day iko hapa nyuma tu. Ni Atumu hapo, the second road. Nikasoma hapo form 1 up to form 4. Then I went to Alina Visram School. Alina Visram, unaona hii bahari. Ukienda ukifika kona pale, kitoko ukifika kona pale, just before you head to the old port, utaiona shule ya Alina Visram School.
Hapo ndipo ulikwenda?
Hapo ndio nilikwenda form 5 na form 6. Na we celebrated 100 years of Alina Visram last month. Yeah, we celebrated a centenary since the school was established.
As alumni.
Yeah.
All right. Wakati huu baada ya kumaliza form 4, ulipata marks kama ngapi? Ama grade gani?
Form 4 I got a division 2 with 28 points. So sikubahatika kupata call up ya form 5 na form 6. Nikasubiri 1 term. At the end of the term nikaitwa Alidina Visram.
Na wakati huu ulikuwa unakwenda kusomea nini? Ulikuwa na akili ya kusomea nini ama ulikuwa bado hauna ndoto?
Bado.
Ina maana kama ulikuwa umeketi tu shuleni umalize?
Bado So tukaenda Alidina Visram. Pale the environment was very different from where I had come from.
Yes.
People pale walikuwa wanasoma sana. Kule tulitoka Chuda ilikuwa ni ile
mchezo tu.
Kusoma tu ya kwenda shule, lakini there people were really serious. So tukapambana na wao. I managed to get 2 principal passes in economics. I got a principal B and Kiswahili principal B, and then geography I got a D. But they were enough to take me to university.
Manake kule ulipata watu wako very serious. University ulikuwa unakwenda kusomea nini?
So university initially I was called to do a degree in arts, Bachelor of Arts. And I started the Bachelor of Arts in Kiswahili, anthropology, and political science.
Yeah.
Then somebody told me that you can change faculties.
Yeah.
So I applied for a change na nikaitwa sasa kufanya law midway in the first semester.
Kufanya law. Ni nini kilikuvutia kuchange katika hili? Ama ni kwa kuwa tu ulipata ushawishi?
Nilipata ushauri and I had qualified for that, but in my career choices I had put Bachelor of Arts as my first choice.
Hicho ndicho kitu chenye kilikuwa kimekuvutia. Wakati ulibadilisha kuingia masuala ya sheria, ilikuchukua muda upi kukubali kwamba this is where I want to be, ama ulikuwa tu sawa? Na ni nini ulikuwa unalenga?
Sikuwa muda sana. Because I had friends who were doing law. So we gelled well and tukaanza kufanya kazi. And you know also they were in the law program. You had more classes than in the other side. So we were quite busy.
Your first job after umetoka university kusomea masuala ya law ulipata wapi?
Kwanza nilifanya internship with the municipal council. The then municipal council of Mombasa. Nilipomaliza internship, I was employed by a firm of advocates called Way Alia and Company Advocates. 1991. Then I was admitted as an advocate in December 1991. Yeah, so upon admission, I continued working. In December 1992, I contested in Changamwe as a member of parliament.
For the first time?
For the first time, nikapambana na the late Kennedy Kiliku, the late Kajembe, sawana. Nikashindwa, Kiliku was the winner.
Nini kilikuvutia kwa siasa kwa mara hii ya kwanza?
Mara ya kwanza ni kwanza we had a group in Changamwe who were very interested in politics. So at that time we had a candidate, but unfortunately the candidate turned out not to have registered as a voter. So the next person they asked me to contest was myself. Yes.
And that's how you got to politics. Wakati huu baada ya kushindwa, uliendelea na masuala yako ya wanasheria ama uliamua kuingia katika siasa full?
Niliendelea na kazi yangu ya sheria. We had an association called Changamwe Muslim Association. We used to do activities for Muslims and other members of the public in Changamwe. We invested a lot of time in that association. Yeah.
That is where you went. During this time, you were doing all this law and politics. Were you married?
Yes, I got married in September 1991. Yeah.
That is when you got married. Your first born came what time?
A year later.
A year later, while you were still working in the law firm?
Yes.
All right.
I opened my own firm in 1993. Yeah, April 1993.
Wakati huu ulikuwa unapambana namna gani? Familia ndogo, bado uko kwa wanasheria, na naamini bado huko umeachilia mbali siasa mbali sana. Ulikuwa una balance namna gani?
Ulikuwa tuna balance kwa sababu kila kitu kilikuwa na wakati wake. I think in 1995 I contested as a chair of the Mombasa Law Society, and I was elected unopposed. So I started serving advocates also in Mombasa.
For how long did you serve as an advocate?
For 2 years. For 2 years. I was elected for the first time. Nikafanya at the end of my term. Members wakasema wewe endelea. You have done so well.
Ukarejea tena?
Nikarejea tena, yeah.
Wakati huu ulikuwa bado unafikiria siasa, na ni kwa nini ulirejea? Maanake najua wakati huu wewe ni senator. Ni kwa nini ukaamua tena I'm not letting this go?
Nikarejea tena kwa sababu we still had a leadership problem. So tukarejea tena Changamwe in first of all there was a by-election in 1995.
Yes.
After the by-election, I was number 3. Yeah.
After the by-election, you were number 3. Ukarudi tena.
Yeah.
Wakati
we lost because there was a problem.
Yes.
In our party.
Ukawa na by-election, ukawa namba 3.
Namba 3.
Ukarejea tena.
Yeah, na chama cha Ford Kenya.
Uliingia maana yake najua uko ndani ya ODM. At what point?
At that time tulikuwa tuko Ford Kenya sote. 1992 we all contested on Ford Kenya. 95 again Ford Kenya. 97 Ford Kenya. And then after 97 kasema hii chama haina manufaa.
Mbona hakikuwa na manufaa?
Sababu the popularity of the party was going down. Sababu majority of the members were from our brothers from the Luo community. So at that time
you felt
Raila had moved to form his own party, NDP. Na so tukabakia na the late Omalo wa kijana in Ford Kenya. And the party did not have a lot of support in Mombasa. Yeah.
So you decided to ditch it. To which party?
So nikaiacha 2002 sikugombania. Sikugombania 2002 nikawacha.
Mbona uliwacha wakati huo? Ni nini kilitendeka?
Sababu the same group some members thought that if somebody were to contest on KANU, he will succeed. So tukasema wale ambao ni wa KANU wacha
watafute nafasi.
But he didn't succeed also, akashinda nani Kajembe with NAC. Yeah.
Wakati huu wote bado
NAC NDP.
Wakati huu wote bado unafanya sheria.
Yeah.
Wakati umefikisha watoto wangapi by then?
3.
That is 2002.
Walikuwa 4. Yeah.
Mmoja akafariki dunia.
Alifariki dunia 2018.
Pole kwa hilo. Ukaendelea na siasa. Ukaingia tena bado katika ODM.
Then 2007 nikarejea tena Changamwe. With LDP. Yeah. Ajo ODMK ya Wiper. Wao pia wakatudhulumu. Wakampa nafasi jamaa yao. Despite me winning the nomination, they gave the nomination certificate to their kinsman.
Wakati huo alikuwa nani?
Anaitwa Pila Mitao. Mimi nikaenda kwa chama cha Julia Ojiambo. Labour Party of Kenya.
Ukaenda ku contest bado kwa Changamwe.
Changamwe, yes. And then I was number 4 at that time.
Number 1 alikuwa wale
walikuwa wa ODM. ODM. Number 2 akaja wa KANU. Number 3 there was somebody else, me, I was number 4.
licha ya kukua kulikuwa na vurugu, kulikuwa na maonevu, mbona hauku give up?
Kwa sababu I knew my day will come. So 2012 there was a delimitation of boundaries. So we were lucky, we got another constituency in Changamwe. Changamwe was split into two, Jomvu and Changamwe. So at that time I think the boundaries were also skewed in favor of the sitting MP. For instance, Changamwe is on this side of the old Malindi Road, yes. Old Mombasa Road, Nairobi Road, on the left-hand side. So he took Changamwe ward and put it in Jomvu, and took Miritini on the other side, and he put it in Changamwe. So that one was contrary to the administrative setup also.
Yes.
Because there were two divisions in Changamwe, one Jomvu, one Changamwe. So the Jomvu division comprised of Miritini ward, Jomvu Kuu ward, and Mikindani ward. But when they did the delimitation of the boundaries, they put Miritini in Changamwe and Changamwe in Jomvu. So we went to the tribunal and we succeeded in getting back Jomvu, Miritini to Jomvu and Changamwe to Changamwe, because Changamwe is the name that the constituency has. So it would have been awkward for Changamwe ward to be in Jomvu constituency, yet there is Changamwe
constituency. Yeah. Na hapo ndio siasa
sasa hapo nikaachana na Changamwe, then I contested in Jomvu.
Na ukashinda?
Asikushinda, I contested on UDF, chama cha Mudavadi. Still the same problem of party popularity. Ikatugonga. Yes.
Ukarudi tena 2017.
Nikarudi tena 2017. So in 2017 nikasema, let me do my homework. I go and look for a county seat. Yes.
That was a beautiful breakfast, and thank you so much for hosting me for this breakfast. Ningependa kusikia hii story zaidi. Endapo utanionyesha kwingine pia nitaka.
Karibu tukae pale.
All right, asante. All right. Wakati sitakupata ukifanya siasa, nitakupata ukifanya nini?
Utanipata niko na watu tofauti, shaona. Kama ikiwa niko mitaani, hutembelea watu mitaani, huhudhuria mazishi, huhudhuria harusi.
Huko ndiko nitakupata. And what are your hobbies?
My hobbies mainly is watching football, visiting, traveling.
And now that you've mentioned football, which is your favorite team in Kenya and also EPL?
In Kenya, I'm a fan of Bandari because it's our team from our home city. So we are all fans of Bandari Football Club, and we support it so that it can assist in growing the talents
which we have in this
city. Yes.
You've said that EPL, that you don't support any team?
EPL, I support Arsenal.
Thank you so much. Arsenal is a big team. All right, if today I'll be in this house, that is, tell me one thing we cannot miss here in this house. In one word answer. One thing we cannot miss.
Like what?
A favorite thing you have every morning, or rather every day.
Dates.
What did you say?
Dates.
Dates.
Yes.
We cannot miss dates here.
Yes, you
Which
can.
is your favorite meal?
I prefer fish.
You prefer fish?
Yes.
Your favorite color?
Color is Black or blue?
Black?
Blue.
Black
or blue?
Black or blue. Your favorite person? Person. Your favorite person. I'm waiting to hear that, Mwesh. We cannot pass to your favorite person.
No, at the moment I don't. I don't have.
You have no favorite person. If you were not a lawyer and a politician, what else? Which other job would you be doing today?
I would have been a banker.
You would have been a banker. In the morning, when you wake up, what is the first thing you do?
May I wake up at about, like today I woke up at about 4:45. I prepared myself and then I went to the mosque at 5. Yes.
So the first thing you do?
The first thing that I do every morning is to go for the morning prayer.
If you were to choose a mentor today from Kenya, who would that be?
A mentor in Kenya? Raila Amolo Odinga is a good mentor.
There is no one else away from Raila.
Dr. Willy Mutunga, Professor Kibwana, Kivuda Kibwana.
Why the three of them?
Because I have seen them mentor many people. Yes.
You have how many kids?
3.
Is there any decision about them you ever made and you regretted?
No.
If you were to change one thing in your life, what would that be?
Maybe I would have started much earlier. Yes, as a politician.
You felt that you started a bit late?
Yes, it was a bit late.
You'd have started earlier.
Yes.
What are you looking?
And doing more for the community.
Okay. What are you looking forward to be away from senator? Because I know you're still climbing the political land.
I'm still weighing my options. Yeah, I want to do another 1 term in the Senate after 2027. I want to go back for another term.
Right.
And then I'll make my decision in
where you want to be politically.
In 2032, yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Mwesh, for giving us an opportunity to hear from you.
Yeah.
I'll be going with you to see what else you'll be doing during the day. But thank you so much.
Welcome.
That was a beautiful program.
Welcome.
And we're looking forward to hearing from you soon on other matters. Asante sana, na bila shaka kutoka hapa kwake Seneta Mohamed Faki, seneta wa County 001. Tunakamilisha kipindi hiki Mfahamu Kiongozi, lakini haimaanishi kwamba nimetoka Mombasa, bado kuna viongozi wengine. Kwa heri kwa sasa.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for.
That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Muyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the home of Untold Stories.
Katika majengo haya, hapa ndipo sheria zinapotungwa na zinapopakuliwa. Nitakuletea viongozi mbalimbali, mirengo mbalimbali, wote kwa pamoja wakipika na kupakua. Tutawapa nafasi kuweza kuangazia changamoto na mafanikio ya ugatuzi katika ukumbi wa siasa kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 1 kamili na kuendelea.
Toka eneo hili la Naivasha kwenye kaunti 032, gatuzi la Nakuru.
Kutoka kaunti ya Elgeyo Marakwet, kaunti 028.
Nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Wajir.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Turukana.
Kwa matukio yote yanayojiri katika kaunti hii 012,
Kutoka kaunti nambari 1, kaunti ya Mombasa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Lamu.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka Kisii County.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Machakos.
Kutoka kaunti hii ya Trans Nzoia.
Kaunti 038.
Kutoka gatuzi nambari 029, kaunti ya Nandi, chemichemi ya mabingwa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Kakamega.
Itakuwa nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Bungoma.
Jina langu ni Paula Munio.
Willy Dennis Jiru.
Fabian Kibet.
Mimi ni Hashim Jimal.
Mimi ni Kitio Mika Masai.
John Javakiania.
Jina langu ni Abdulaziz Nameka.
Mimi ni Kombo Alfayo.
Jina langu ni Nicholas Mbai.
Isaac Famba.
Mimi ni Wanji Sosti.
Jina langu ni Arnold Adidi.
Jina langu ni Chris Bet.
Jina langu ni Violet Auma.
Na TV47 inapotamba, mimi Sheila Chelangat nitakuwa nikiripotia maswala yanayokuhusu wewe kila kuchao.
Every Thursday 7:30 p.m. unapata nafasi kufahamu viongozi mbalimbali kutoka humu nchini, kuanzia wabunge.
Through Changa, we could get money to pay our rent, to pay our bills.
When I was growing up, water was a problem where I was born and bred. We wake up at 3 to go and look for water.
Magavana
must be ready to be a tough woman and not a woman to be walked over.
Kwa hivyo
but you respect people.
Dari ya mfahamu kiongozi, story na historia. Na mi
Following program is rated GE. It is suitable for general family viewing.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's another Thursday, and as usual, we bring you Body Garage, the art of well-being, and I'm your host, Dr. Shepsi. Now, today we are going to talk about something that you cannot avoid to talk about, since these are things that happen to your life, at home, at work, every day. This is about the food that we consume, and in this episode, we are going to talk about the genetic modified organisms, in this case the genetic modified foods, and we are going to try and talk about some of the rumors or myths or the fact that you have been hearing about this section of foods. And we have on our show a food scientist, Martha. Karibu sana. It's a pleasure to have you.
Pleasure to
yes.
be
Karibu kwa show.
Asante sana.
It's not very common to hear that there is somebody who is a food scientist, who may specialize on the science of food.
Yeah, maybe in Kenya, but the food scientists are all over. We are bringing changes in the world of food.
Right.
Yeah, so that is what pertains by a food scientist. Yeah.
Talk to us, what does food scientist entail? Like, what is your range of work?
As a food scientist, this is a very complex area because it deals from food production, food processing, food packaging, food consumption trends, the consumer acceptance, and also food innovation that is in the field of biotechnology. So this is a sector that is diverse, because it comes, you can have a food microbiologist, food chemist, food processors, food biotechnologist. Now it is the speciality now brings the expert in you.
So which part of that are you in?
For me, as Martha, I did a Bachelor of Science in Food Science and Technology, which covers the whole thing because it's the basis. And then later I did a Master's of Science in Food Science with specialty in food safety. Yeah.
Food safety.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, we just got into the discussion right on. What's your full name and how can people find you?
My name is Martha Kuria. That is the name that I'm mostly known. In most cases, scientists are underground, but On LinkedIn, you can find me as Martha Korea. I talk a lot about foods. Yes.
On LinkedIn?
On LinkedIn.
All right. Unapiga kelele huko?
Napiga kelele huko. I'm trying to tell people that we need to eat healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. So we are talking about the genetic modified food. I hope that's how you call it in your technical terms. But this is a conversation that has been happening in Kenya maybe more actively in the last like a decade, the last 10 years. And back it was something that the government of Kenya refused to allow officially into the Kenyan market, right? But recently there have been like kind of a soft spot to try and allow the genetic modified foods to come into Kenya. Last year, October 2022, President Ruto tried to now reintroduce that, of course in partnership with the major source of genetic modified foods, the United States of America. Before we go into those discussions, first of all, what is a genetic modified food? Ni nini?
Okay, this is a very complex topic because this is a topic that spurs emotions. Every time everyone wants to talk about genetically modified foods, people bring in emotions which are allowed because these are not something that happens in nature. And as humans, sometimes we are reluctant to embrace anything that is coming which is not naturally supposed to happen. So genetically modified foods, just as the name suggests, genetically modified, these are foods that are produced during the process of production. There must be a genetic engineering part that has happened in these foods, specifically on the seeds. So, and when we talk about genetically, a gene is involved.
Genes, yeah.
Genes are involved. So any food to be termed as genetically modified food, it is a food that its genetic makeup, all the DNA, has been altered in a way to bring some certain desired traits. So a gene can either be sourced from a different organism or an organism that they are from the same strains or even from different strains. And that is now what brings the difference because that doesn't happen in nature. Yeah, so the genetic makeup, that is the DNA, is altered, the gene, with the trait, because in a DNA, in the DNA makeup, we have different genes or bases that communicate different information. We have a gene that communicates colors, or the carotenoids. There is a gene that communicates resistance to diseases. So now the desired gene that is needed is the one that is altered. You can not either insert, not the entire food. There's a specific gene. The gene, you can either remove the gene if it is not desired in the plant, or it can be inserted from a different organism. And now that any food that we produced by altering the genetic makeup, that is a genetic modified food. Yeah, but it is good to tell people to understand that this is for a specific trait. If, for example, I want to develop maize, because you know in Kenya when you talk about genetic modified, they just look at maize. For Kenyans,
that's what I wanted actually to ask you next. Like, yeah, what are the specific traits, as you call it, that we are looking to, that have already been worked on to be modified?
You know, the technology is not, it is something that is done over time. For you to come up with a seed and say, now this one is a very safe genetically modified seed that you can cultivate in our lands, it has gone a series of assessments. So, like for example, in most traits that we are looking at, for now, with the changes in climate and the adverse weather conditions, you realize the productivity is going low, and then the extreme weather condition, maybe the heating, the extreme temperatures, they are resulting into the pests that attack our foods. They are mutating to resistant to the pesticides that we have, and now we find it is affecting our productivity. And whatever we want is food, and not just food, safe food. So if that maize, we have the gene that we can include, a gene that can resist these pests. The cob is just the same, and then we include a gene, it will not alter any nutritional composition or any functionality of this food at the end of the day. So if it is in maize cob, if maize plant, at the end of the day, we'll still eat ugali, which should taste the same, should cook the same. The processing should not be altered in any way. So that is why, like, the BT maize that has been allowed the other day, just last week, that now the court allowed, now scientists can roll out the varieties that we have, the genetically modified varieties. Now, this is just resistant to drugs, to pests, I mean. It is just resistant to pests and diseases. So the maize cob will just grow, resist the cob, so it will not be affected. But when we are harvesting maize, which should not differ from the maize that we are planting now. Yeah.
They will not look different from
They
the
will
maize
not look different. Phenotypically should be the same.
Yeah.
Functionality and nutritionally should be the same. Yeah.
We're going to talk some of those things that you mentioned about later. So you said what the modifications of genes, one is the resistance to droughts, and then there's resistance to pests. Okay.
You can even modify to enhance nutritional profile.
Okay, but we are not yet doing that.
It is happening.
It is happening.
Elsewhere, yeah.
Not in Kenya.
Not in Kenya. Not even in Kenya. In Kenya, we have some it is just because that they are not already allowed by the National Biosafety Authority to be rolled out. They have not been validated to be used. But research is happening. On ground, a lot is happening. Yeah, in the lab and in the field.
Now, let's talk about what are some of the foods that are in Kenya. Okay, you can start with generally those ones that they have been approved. The foods that we know these are genetically modified, which ones are they and which ones are already in Kenya?
In Kenya, at the moment, we don't have any food. We should produced in Kenya. We don't have any food that is genetically modified that is in our market. Yes, not unless they are imported. You know, the National Biosafety Authority allows cultivation and the activities that is happening along the genetical modification activities. So it can be not unless they are imported. But in our farms, we are yet to produce any genetic modified.
None is already being grown in our farms.
None is already being grown in our farms, but we have trial fields that a lot is happening. We have potatoes by SIP, that is the center potato. Is it called International Center of Potato Center? Yeah, they are already developing a potato variety that is resistant to potato blight disease, which is very rampant in our potato producing areas. Those ones, they are in testing fields. They are not yet rolled. Not commercial. You know, because for you to come up with a seed, it is a seed. I said, first of all, these GM foods, they are different in different countries because every country has different problems. Our problem here might be drought. Other people's problem might be a certain pest. So when you are modifying them to suit your own, to find solution for your problems. Yeah, your local issues. So that is why you find in other countries they might be modifying them for other reasons, maybe to increase the starch content in this corn, especially in the US who are using it for cornstarch. But for us, bearing in mind that our country is 80% asphalt, so the most part of the country is dry area. Now, with the varieties we have, some of them, they don't grow in those areas. And we want to increase the productivity because everyone is talking about food safety, food security. And that is something that is happening because the population is growing. We have to cater for this population. And this population, when you talk about food security, it is when everyone can be able to access and afford food. For us to get to that level, we have to increase our productivity within our country, not by importing, within our country, by growing. And now, when we see if our land is not arable enough to grow these tropical foods, now we have to modify them to suit our problem now. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We are going to hold that thought right there. We are going to take a break, and when we are back, we'll pick the conversation right where we have left it.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for.
That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Moyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the home of Untold Stories.
Katika majengo haya, hapa ndipo sheria zinapotungwa na zinapopakuliwa. Nitakuletea viongozi mbalimbali, mirengo mbalimbali, wote kwa pamoja wakipika na kupakua. Tutawapa nafasi kuweza kuangazia changamoto na mafanikio ya ugatuzi katika ukumbi wa siasa kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 1 kamili na kuendelea.
Toka eneo hili la Naivasha kwenye kaunti 032, gatuzi la Nakuru.
Kutoka kaunti ya Elgeyo Marakwet, kaunti 028.
Nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Wajir.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Turukana.
Kwa matukio yote yanayojiri katika kaunti hii 012.
Kutoka kaunti nambari 1, kaunti ya Mombasa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Lamu.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka Kisii County.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Machakos.
Kutoka kaunti hii ya Trans Nzoia.
Kaunti 038.
Kutoka gatuzi nambari 029, kaunti ya Nandi, chemichemi ya mabingwa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Kakamega.
Nitakuwa nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Bungoma.
Jina langu ni Paula Munio.
Willy Dennis Njiru.
Fabian Kibet.
Mimi ni Hashim Jimal.
Mimi ni Kitio Mika Masai.
John Javakiania.
Jina langu ni Abdulaziz Nameka.
Mimi ni
Welcome back. You are watching Body Garage, the Art of Wellbeing. I'm your host, Dr. Chepsi, and we are talking about the GM foods, the genetically modified foods. And right now, as we are back from the break, we are talking about the types of foods that are already in the market, maybe in Kenya already, that are known to have been modified genetically. Yes, Martha, you had mentioned about maize and potatoes. Are there other foods that we know are already being genetically modified?
Yeah, I can admit that a lot of research is going on genetic modification of foods. In Kenya currently, we have a variety of foods that are under trials. We have a variety of cassava that is resistant to pests and diseases. We also have a variety of biofortified sorghum that is also under trials. And basically in Kenya we are focusing, when I see a lot of research is focusing on staple foods, the foods that we are known to be consuming, because this is what people identify with when we talk about food security. There are families that they can't take anything else apart from ugali. And now to make this ugali sustainable, we have to increase the production. That is why a lot of research is happening around that area.
And as you say, just to be clear, is that these foods are not yet released into the market, like for people to produce and to eat?
They haven't got approvals from the National Biosafety Authority, because this National Biosafety Authority doesn't work alone. It works with other agencies such as the Public Health, the KEBS, and then this one that is responsible for seed, the Carefree. All these agencies come together. So when we have a product or a variety that has been released, all of them, they have got into a consensus that clinical trials have been done, that this food is free from toxins, is free from anything that can cause any health effect, or it can harm the environment, or they can change the functionality of this product, or even the nutritional profile. Yeah.
So for the food, for the edible crops, none has already been released into the Kenyan market, but you mentioned something like cotton, which is already being used.
Yeah, in Kenya we're already growing BT cotton, which is genetically modified, which was released back in 2020. So it has been rolling up for the last 3 years. We are growing it, and now the BT cotton was developed to be resistant to pests and diseases, especially because this is a cash crop that is mostly grown for export. So we are already growing BT cotton in the country.
But for the edible stuff, not yet?
For the edible stuff, not yet.
All right. Because the reason we're asking that is because sometimes we go shopping, like in the supermarkets. We see these tomatoes that look huge and more colored. We see these maybe sukuma wiki, spinach, they have huge leaves, more colored, and we say these ones look like GMOs. Are they?
Yeah, those are just the misconception that is happening. Yeah, because every time you go to there are people even who can't buy a very nice potato because they have the perception that this is genetically modified. But there is a line between genetic modification and conventional breeding. So in most of our products that we have in the market, they have undergone breeding. They have undergone breeding. That is improvements of the traits. You can have a very smooth potato, which mostly those people who are making fresh fries, they don't want potato with a lot of eyes. So there is a breed that has been developed which is very smooth for processability. When you put it in the machines, it is able to peel off well. Those are breeded, they are not genetically modified.
And breeding has the natural structures. Nobody has added anything or removed.
Breeding, you can have a trait from a different plant, but of the same species, not from different species. And the DNA is not altered in any way. Yeah.
All right. Now, let's talk about the meats, because this is where now things get hot. There are several things that we've had people talking about, including politicians. Major politicians have come out to say, let me quote, I will not say the name, but one of the major politicians recently mentioned that when you eat GMO foods, men will develop breasts and women will develop testicles. And, you know, of course, being people in leadership, people are going to believe them. And so our first myth we will talk about is, which you've addressed already partly, is that are all the foods we have in the supermarkets GMO?
Okay,
nowadays?
That one, without fear of contradiction, I can say in Kenya we haven't produced any GM edible food that is for consumption of humans and even in animal feeds. But sometimes the government allows importation of GM products for feeds, like the other day when we were importing duty-free maize, the yellow maize. Those were genetically modified but direct for animal production, for animal feeds, not for human consumption. At the moment, there's no product that is being developed for human consumption that is genetically modified. Though there is a lot of misconception going around, rumors, I think This is the place where we should now put facts and politics aside, because some people say we'll grow horns, others say that very weird things will happen. But what I know is that maybe it is lack of awareness what exactly is happening during the modification of this plant. And maybe I can give a summary of what happens during modification of crops is that once a seed is developed genetically, not even developing a seed, it's just that a gene has been added to that seed. So it is not like it was developed from a cell. So once it is developed, a lot of assessment happens, and that is why we have the National Biosafety Authority, which now protects the safety of the consumers by making sure that safety assessments are done. And this safety assessment, they are done in a way that a comparative study, that we have the genetically modified crop and the one that is a conventional crop, and then they are compared. Is there any difference? They should not differ, not unless it is the nutritional profile that was altered.
Yes.
And that is the only nutritional parameter that should be found in the genetically modified crop. So the processability, the nutritional profile, even the physical appearance of the crop, the maize should just be like the maize that you have. But about the bigger leaves, it can happen if the gene that was introduced was in a way that, like, for example, if we want drought resistant, we know that the size and the structure of the leaf will differ, because if the gene was got from cactus, maybe for example, we expect some straight for that to hold the water. So that is why they are very specific for specific parameters.
So for now, we can confidently say that no food in Kenyan supermarkets and markets that you go to buy, no matter how colorful or how big the leaves look like, they are not GM foods yet.
They are not GM foods. And now this one also, we should look at what if it is the chemical that we are spraying. And then we are here blaming the genetic modification, and it is a lot of spraying. We have boosters, we have all sorts of sprays that are happening in the fields. Might be the one that are leading to this.
Let's leave that. We're going to talk about that a bit, the alternatives now. Our myth number 2 is that genetic modified foods are intrinsically harmful. They are dangerous to human health.
Yeah, that is a myth. The good thing you are talking about, let us go to the next
myth. Is it a myth?
Because it is a myth.
Yeah,
it is a myth, because during safety assessment, we know that the DNA structure, they are made of proteins because they are amino acids. So the moment you introduce a different protein, the amino acid, the interaction may lead to expression of an unintended protein, because we know all those traits are protein-based. So this intended, unintended, sometimes they can happen, and when they can happen, they are known, and correction measures are done. So maybe the aspect of their intrinsic harmful is because these proteins that have been expressed, some people might say that they are toxins. And during the assessment, there is a stage that, first of all, after you have known that the functionality is okay, the next stage is, can it cause toxicity or allergens? Because these are parameters or the attributes that are related to proteins. So by the time this product is released by the regulation, and you know, when they are carrying out those safety parameters, they are referring to the global regulations by WHO and FAO. So the toxicity aspect has to be done, and that is why there are clinical trials. And then the allergies, the allergens, does that protein in one way or another cause allergens? And that is why even when you are looking for a trait to include to your new crop, the trait should not have allergens. Like, for example, as much as like soya can increase the protein content in maize or in any other food, soya has allergens concerns. So not unless you are very sure that the gene that you are picking from soya does not lead to expression of this protein that is responsible for allergens, then it should not happen. Yeah, so they are not harmful. The trials have been done, and by the time they are rolled out, they have been proven that they are not toxic and they don't have allergens or any other carcinogens. Yeah.
All right, and if anything happens, then it will be something that will happen to even non-genetically modified foods, because there are foods that we still eat and they cause us problems, right?
True, yeah, true. In fact, that is what the public need to know, that there's nothing that is changing this food. The way you are eating your ugali, it will still be the same ugali. If you had a problem with that starch, whether it is the conventional starch or the other one, you still have problems. Yes.
All right, let's take a break, and so when we come back, we are going to look more into discussing more about more myths that you've heard about the GM foods. Stay tuned.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for.
That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Moyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the home of Untold Stories.
Katika majengo haya, hapa ndipo sheria zinapotungwa na zinapopakuliwa. Nitakuletea viongozi mbalimbali, mirengo mbalimbali, wote kwa pamoja wakipika na kupakua. Tutawapa nafasi kuweza kuangazia changamoto na mafanikio ya ugatuzi katika ukumbi wa siasa kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 1 kamili na kuendelea.
Toka eneo hili la Naivasha kwenye kaunti 032, gatuzi la Nakuru.
Kutoka kaunti ya Elgeyo Marakwet, kaunti 028.
Nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Wajir.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Turukana.
Kwa matukio yote yanayojiri katika kaunti hii 012.
Kutoka kaunti nambari 1, kaunti ya Mombasa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Lamu.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka Kisii County.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Machakos.
Kutoka kaunti hii ya Trans Nzoia.
Kaunti 038.
Kutoka gatuzi nambari 029, kaunti ya Nandi, chemichemi ya mabingwa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Kakamega.
Nitakuwa nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Bungoma.
Jina langu ni Paula Munio.
Willy Dennis Jiru.
Fabian Kibet.
Mimi ni Hashim Jimal.
Mimi ni Kitio Mika Masai.
John Javakiania.
Jina langu ni Abdulaziz Nameka.
Mimi ni Kombo Alfayo.
Jina langu ni Nicholas Mbai.
Isaac Famba.
Mimi ni Wanji Sosti.
Jina langu ni Arnold Adidi.
Jina langu ni Chris Bet.
Jina langu ni Violet Auma.
Na TV47 inapotamba, mimi Sheila Chelangat nitakuwa nikiripotia maswala yanayokuhusu wewe kila kuchao.
Every Thursday 7:30 p.m. unapata nafasi kufahamu viongozi mbalimbali kutoka humu nchini, kuanzia wabunge.
Through Changa, we could get money to pay our rent, to pay our bills.
When I was growing up, water was a problem where I was born and bred. We wake up at 3 to go and look for water.
Magavana
must be ready to be a tough woman and not a woman to be walked over.
Kwa hivyo
you respect people.
Ndani ya Mfahamu Kiongozi, story na historia, na mi Elizabeth Muchuku.
kwa mirindimo kemkem ya michezo, mahojiano ya kipekee na mabingwa wetu, makala ya kuvutia pamoja na matukio mubashara viwanjani. Shabiki, tutapiga mbizi katika kila kiwanja, ndani na hata nje ya nchi. Mtazamaji, uko tayari? Ni kazi michezoni ama michezo kazini? Ungana nami Ahmed Bahaj, sajili mpya nimefika katika kipindi cha kipekee Mchaka. Zitatoka cheche, tutapiga mstari chini yake. Si bora michezo, ni michezo kwa ubora wake. Cheche.
They say money makes the world go round. So let's slow things down a bit. Put things in perspective. From the markets to the streets to the stocks, we make the complex comprehensible. Join me, Hibak Saeed, on TV47 Business News for market insights like never before.
Welcome back. We are talking about genetically modified foods, and we pick up on the discussion about the myths. So we've talked about 2 myths so far, about that all the foods we have in the supermarkets are GM foods, which we've agreed none exist so far in Kenyan market. The second one we talked about is genetically modified foods are intrinsically harmful, and the food scientist has told us that safety measures are observed at every stage, and you can rest assured they have not yet been proven to be that harmful. Now, our next myth that we need to talk about is that the GM foods do not contain nutrients. Is that true?
That is not true, because we have just said that it doesn't alter any nutritional profile of the food. Because there is one thing that some skeptical public health were feeling, that maybe by altering these genes, you might have the nutrients in, but will they be able to be processed, or even the digestibility and absorption in the system? And so far, nothing has been proven that the food that are developed genetically cannot be digested by the enzymes we have in our system or even absorbed in the body. So in fact, genetic modification is the one that is now enhancing the nutrient composition.
That's what I wanted to ask. Is there the ones that we have more than the usual nutrients?
Yes, but now that one, when it is specifically added, like we have an example of the golden rice. I don't know whether it is not common in Kenya, but there is a golden rice that was developed in some research institute in Philippines, an international research institute. The golden rice, which is being eaten by everyone in the Asian countries and even in the world. The golden rice, it was developed in a way that some people avoid rice because of the high content of carbohydrates, and you know now the changes in lifestyle, everyone is running away from carbs. But now there was a problem. This being a staple food in that nation, they realized that there is prevalence in vitamin A deficiency. So this this golden rice, it is just rice with enhanced vitamin A content. Yeah, it was used now as a measure to curb the deficiency in vitamin A. Yeah, a lot is happening in the nutritional profile. They are being enhanced using genetic modification. Yeah.
And for that example you've used about the Philippines and the golden rice, so far, I don't know how many years it has been in use. So far, there hasn't been any issues that is causing health problems?
No, so far, no problem. In fact, the positive side of it is that the prevalence of vitamin A deficiency is reducing. Yeah, so that is a positive side of it, that it is enhancing the nutritional profile.
Yes. I don't know if we'll be able to convince people in Kenya. We have our own traits that it takes time to build trust.
It is a very complex topic because Kenyans are very comfortable eating biofortified foods.
Biofortified?
Yes. These are like the orange-fleshed sweet potatoes. Everyone takes it. The very orange one. That is it was developed, though it was developed through breeding. Though some can be biofortified using the genetic technology, which a gene, like we can decide to have a high improved maize cob, and then we add some proteins from beans. So long as Kenyans don't hear that gene was developed from a microorganism, like in this case of BT maize, that is where they draw a line. But any other thing, we have a lot of campaigns everywhere with biofortification of foods, foods that are developed with enhanced nutritional composition. Some, even if they are developed using the conventional breeding, others are developed using the genetic modification. But it doesn't raise concern as opposed to now when you talk about this one, the gene was got from a microorganism maybe. And this is something that people should understand, that when that gene is transferred, you're not eating microorganism. Don't feel like this gene will start expressing in my body and something will start happening.
Grow horns.
Grow horns, grow and all that.
Yeah.
No.
Which leads us to our next discussion, the myth that these genetically modified foods are going to cause, when we eat them, they're going to alter our bodies. And using the statements that some of the politicians made, like, you know, they will make men to grow breasts and women to grow testicles, and maybe others you will say it will cause infertility or you will grow horns. So do these foods alter our bodies when we consume them?
Okay, before I answer that question, I can say that even the normal foods that we eat, they have their genetic makeup. Now, we have never seen somebody grow a flower. So even for these ones, they are just normal foods. And the genetic makeup of the food, just the food that we eat, some of them we consume their genetic, like the ones that we don't cook, like fruits, we consume the way they are. So we consume even the gene, and it is able to be metabolized in our body system and broken down, not going to mutate and form any other thing in our bodies. And then in other foods that we cook, there are researchers that have shown that the genetic makeup of foods, plant-based foods, they are destroyed by processing. When they cook, the DNA is not there anymore. So we don't eat the DNA. And in most cases, the gene is not even in the consumption part of the plant. Like, for instance, not unless it is for enhancement of nutrients. The ones that are working to resist drought and to resist pests, they're either on the cob, the leaves and all that, the one that we are not consuming. And they are playing their part in the resisting so that the crop can grow and produce. So they are not transferred into the edible part of the crop.
But if the edible part is the seeds, you're going to harvest the seed and plant it, it will still have the same trait.
If the intention or the target was the gene to go to the seed, and this mostly happens when you're enhancing nutrients. So the gene that you are taking is the gene that expressed this protein that has increased protein content, has increased zinc content, and all that. Yeah, which is not harmful to our body.
All right. Now the next part is, do GMOs cause cancers? Because that's now the big part, cancer.
That is the biggest rumor.
Yeah. Do they?
That is the biggest rumor. And there is a time back, during when the government decided to lift the ban, the communication and everything was just surrounding the issue of development of tumors that lead to cancers. And they even said that is what made the 2012 ban to happen, because by the time the ban was being initiated, it is because of a research that was done, and somebody said that the rats, the clinical trials, the rats in the lab, they develop tumors. And you know, in science, you don't just do a study and you publish and you conclude. There have to be a lot of studies that prove that whatever happened, just the way you are trying to cook, you cook your first food, it doesn't come out well. So you cook again until at the end of the day, you'll know the problem is the flour. This flour can't cook something good. So genetically modified foods, they don't cause cancer, because we know
it has been proven they don't cause cancer.
So far, we don't have any case that has proven that genetically modified organism can cause cancer. In fact, the research that is there, it is reduction of cancer.
By consuming these foods?
Okay, not by consuming this food, because as I keep saying that these foods, they are developed for specific attributes. For example, the other day in Europe, they developed a wheat variety, and we know everyone consumes baked products. And we know that the higher we consume baked products, the higher there is chances that when you consume baked products with high level of acrylamide, acrylamide has a potency to cause cancer. It has been proven carcinogenic. And now, this one now they were developing, because in other countries, especially in the West, there are regulations that for you to release your baked product in the market, the acrylamide level should be up to this level. And now to help processors have an easy time in their baked product, because this acrylamide comes with the golden brown color. And everyone, for consumers, when as food scientists, as we are developing food for consumers, first of all, they perceive by seeing. They get attracted first before they know, by the way, what is inside, the nutritional content. And because they want the color still to remain, they had to develop a wheat variety with, when baked, the acrylamide level decreases.
All right. So we can be sure so far that GM foods do not cause cancer, so far?
So far, there are no reports that has shown that GM, and it is a technology that has been there for years. So if it used, it could have caused cancer, then a lot of publications could have done, especially from public health. Yeah.
All right, we are relying on you guys on that specialty to keep us updated and monitor. Now, the last one we will want to mention, does GM foods destroy the environment? You mentioned about off camera about like now in the testing phase, wanting like where this, let's say when BT maize is officially released, that you want to grow them in a secluded farm where they don't interact with cross-pollination to the next maize plantation.
That one is not, it is not a matter of destroying the environment, but protecting the native seeds, because we still need the population. There is a population who still want to remain organic. And now, it's not that it will make these genes, so you'll have an improved variety that was not, hasn't undergone breeding or genetical modification, but because of this gene transfers through pollination. And this happens when the crops of the same species are maybe grown next to each other. There is a tendency that during pollination, genes will be transferred. That is the biggest concern which has happened. There is a country where they realize some of their flax seeds, which were not genetically modified, just because they were growing next to genetically modified. Now they developed the traits, which to them it was the positive trait because they were resistant to pests and diseases. But you know, it is not something out of conceit. Maybe the farmer didn't want it. So with regulations, that is why when they are being rolled out to the farmers, there must be regulation to be followed. They are not just being given to farmers, go and grow them. There must be regulation, there must be permits that I'm going to grow genetically modified foods. So my neighbor should not come complaining that I didn't want this variety, but you can see this is the variety that I have. So there are guidelines that has to be followed when you're cultivating. Another issue is development of stubborn weeds. And it has been raised, the environmental concern that we might get an ecosystem that wasn't there. And then something else, now we have different strains that have been developed.
The weeds.
Yeah, the weeds and any other plants that are of the same species with the fruits that we are growing. But so far, the regulations are there. I don't think it is a concern, because that was the concern even with our country, that we don't want extinction of our natural ecosystem. Yeah, but what I can say is that this genetically modified food, because there is a possibility of gene transfer. Naturally, definitely cross-pollination will happen. Yeah. So when you're cultivating that, there must follow instruction that you shall cultivate it in a place there where we enable the environment that is surrounding your farm that will not be affected. And now that is the case of the government now to identify which areas should be cultivated by these new improved seeds.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think for the meat we can pause there. And as we, have you yourself ever eaten food that you know clearly is a GM food?
If I get, I won't mind.
But you haven't so far?
So far, I don't think I've gotten one.
All right.
Yeah. Or even if I've eaten, it is, I didn't know that I'm eating genetically modified, because our neighbors here are cultivating corn, South Africa. And sometimes we import maize from there, and we know 90% of corn cultivated in South Africa is genetically modified. So 90%. Maybe in one way or another we have consumed, yes.
90%?
Yes.
For human consumption?
For human
animals?
consumption, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I see. All right, as we come to the close, you're a food scientist, and you mentioned that you've just formed an association recently. It's called the Association of Kenyan Scientists. Yeah. Just talk to us briefly, like why did you guys decide to make this, to come up with this association? What are you looking forward to achieving?
Okay, this association called the Scientists of Kenya Association, it was born on a way that, like now, if we were there, we could be creating awareness. People should understand what is happening in science, in the field of science. And now this association has brought together scientists that all scientists that are in Kenya, be it you are a biotechnologist, be it you are a microbiologist, you are a chemist, you are physics, you are a food scientist, which in some cases they are scientists who don't even buy the idea of genetically modified. But we are here to form a coalition that we can be able now to bridge the gap. You know, in Kenya we have very many scientists, but sometimes we are feeling a lot because we are not bringing these innovations to work. If the government can embrace such associations and now allow them to showcase the innovations that we can bring change to our nation, be it not only in food security, but even in other areas that science, in the other area of the science field. Now these are our objective as an association, and still to link between the laymen who don't understand and science, not to be the link in between. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, and we wish you all the best in your association. May you grow, may you find more members, and
we are calling upon partners, with the government, the parastatal, the private partnership, who are working in the field of sciences, that they can partner with us. They can give us, some young scientists, they can be given areas where they can show their expertise, they can help in boosting the science and innovation in the country.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Martha, for your time, and also for sharing your knowledge and your experience. We don't take it for granted. We have come to the close of our show, and I trust that you've learned several things about the genetically modified foods. And the summary will be, so far it is shown that genetically modified foods are safe for human consumption from the scientists themselves. And we can discuss about this, we can talk about this, but that is from the scientists themselves. I've been your host, Dr. Chepsi. We appreciate your support in this show, and we really appreciate that. So we are going to see you next Thursday. This has been Body Garage, the art of well-being. Cheers.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for.
That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Moyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the home of untold stories.
Katika majengo haya, hapa ndipo sheria zinapotungwa na zinapopakuliwa. Nitakuletea viongozi mbalimbali, mirengo mbalimbali, wote kwa pamoja wakipika na kupakua. Tutawapa nafasi kuweza kuangazia changamoto na mafanikio ya ugatuzi katika ukumbi wa siasa kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 1 kamili na kuendelea.
Toka eneo hili la Naivasha kwenye kaunti 032, gatuzi la Nakuru.
Kutoka kaunti ya Elgeyo Marakwet, kaunti 028.
Nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Wajir.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Turukana.
Kwa matukio yote yanayojiri katika kaunti hii 012.
Kutoka kaunti nambari 1, kaunti ya Mombasa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Lamu.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka Kisii County.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Machakos.
Kutoka kaunti hii ya Trans Nzoia.
Kaunti 038.
Kutoka gatuzi nambari 029, kaunti ya Nandi, chemichemi ya mabingwa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Kakamega.
Itakuwa nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Bungoma.
Jina langu ni Paula Munio.
Willy Dennis Jiru.
Fabian Kibet.
Mimi ni Hashim Jimal.
Mimi ni Kitio Mika Masai.
John Javakiania.
Jina langu ni Abdulaziz Nameka.
Mimi ni Kombo Alfayo.
Jina langu ni Nicholas Mbai.
Isaac Famba.
Mimi ni Wanji Sosti.
Jina langu ni Arnold Adidi.
Jina langu ni Chris Bet.
Jina langu ni Violet Auma.
Na TV47 inapotamba, mimi Sheila Chelangat nitakuwa nikiripotia maswala yanayokuhusu wewe kila kuchao. Every Thursday 7:30 p.m. unapata nafasi kufahamu viongozi mbalimbali kutoka humu nchini, kuanzia wabunge.
Through Changa, we could get money to pay our rent, to pay our bills.
When I was growing up, water was a problem where I was born and bred. We wake up at 3 to go and look for water.
Magavana
Must be ready to be a tough woman and not a woman to be walked over. Kwa hivyo you respect people.
Ndani ya Mfahamu Kiongozi, story na historia, na mi Elizabeth Muchuku.
Kwa mirindimo kemkem ya michezo, mahojiano ya kipekee na mabingwa wetu, makala ya kuvutia pamoja na matukio mubashara viwanjani. Shabiki, tutapiga mbizi katika kila kiwanja ndani na hata nje ya nchi. Mtazamaji, uko tayari? Ni kazi michezoni ama michezo kazini? Ungana nami Ahmed Bahaj, sajili mpya nimefika, katika kipindi cha kipekee Mchaka Mchaka. Zitatoka cheche, tutapiga mstari chini yake. Si bora michezo, ni michezo kwa ubora wake. Mcheche.
They say money makes the world go round. So let's slow things down a bit. Put things in perspective. From the markets to the streets to the stocks, we make the complex comprehensible. Join me, Hibak Saeed, on TV47 Business News for market insights like never before.
What's making the headlines? What does it mean to you? How does it affect you? We answer all these questions every Sunday for half an hour on To The Point Show. Hey, I'm Grace Kuriakanja, and a lot has happened this week. Let's dive into it.
Wanasema wasemao kuwa elimu ni bahari haiishi kwa kuchotwa. Wakati mwingi natangamana na wanafunzi madarasani, sio kama mwalimu bali kama nahodha kwenye kipindi cha tasnia ya elimu. Na iwapo utanikosa madarasani, basi utanipata nyanjani nikisaka habari zenye usawa, ufasaha na ukweli. Na iwapo utanikosa nyanjani, bila shaka utanipata studioni hapa nikisoma habari na kuendesha mijadala mikomavu. Mimi ni Andrin Kilemi, mpenzi wa lugha ya Kiswahili na elimu kwa jumla.
Well, if it is happening, then we are definitely talking about it on TV47's Disruptive Friday. Don't miss a moment on the most technological and disruptive moment on TV.
From groundbreaking AI breakthroughs to the latest ingenious innovations, we have it all covered for you.
War, poverty, and disease. These are the trifecta of doom that have plagued the African continent for generations. Recently, the Kenyan government made an ambitious plan to try and counter at least one of that trifecta: disease. The Universal Health Coverage Plan, an ambitious plan and arguably the biggest change in the Kenyan health ecosystem over the last 20 to 25 years. But you know what they say, after all is said and done, more often than not, all will be said and nothing will be done. So what can Kenya do to change or rather transform this ambitious plan to something that is auspiciously done? Victor Muyakane is my name. Good evening and welcome to the Daily Report. But for now, first and foremost, the highlights. Tonight, the president issues an executive order reorganizing his government in a move that is seemingly likely to give Public Service CS Moses Kuria more powers. King Charles's move to regret colonial atrocities meted on Kenyans by the British kicks up a storm in the UK.
Absolutely the wrong thing to do. The King is supposed to be our envoy around the world, not going around on an international apology tour. And they're trying to spin it as the King stopped short of full frontal apology.
As the King and Queens showcase their love for environmental conservation during their Mombasa tour. And one person swept away by raging floods in Isiolo County as a lorry is swept away by other floods in Samburu. This as heavy rains continue pounding parts of the country. Once again, good evening and welcome, and thank you for choosing us to inform you this evening. My name is Victor Moyakane, and on sign language with me tonight is Catherine Simalor. Shall we begin? One person has been swept away by floods in Isiolo as the deadly deluge wreaks havoc in various parts of the country. The heavy rains that hit the country have also made it a deadly affair to be on the road in certain parts of Kenya, with rescue services needed to save stranded and endangered road users who find themselves in desperate situations. All considered, Kenyans are warned to watch out for flash floods and move to higher ground when the torrents begin.
Water flowing, raging, desperate people trying to get to higher ground as the powerful torrents of water rage downstream. And this is the aftermath of heavy rains that continue to ravage parts of the country. In Burat area, Isiolo County, the body of one man is still missing despite spirited rescue operations. His two colleagues lucky to be rescued, and the motorcycle they rode on recovered after the three waded into the deadly power of the flood waters in defiance of the warnings of those who knew better. Isiolo North OCPD William Kiambi had warned the residents not to cross the river, insisting that they should wait for the water levels to go down. The rains are expected to cause further damage of infrastructure after schools in the area flooded. Elsewhere in Samburu County, a lorry was overpowered and submerged in flood waters at the Lerata-Wamba border. It took a helicopter from the nearby Lewa Wildlife Conservatory to swoop in for the rescue after the driver and 9 passengers got trapped inside the doomed lorry. The heavy rains are set to continue in various parts of the country, with Kenyans being urged to stay away from low-lying areas on the danger of being swept away by the floods.
Now, King Charles III and Queen Camilla have today embarked on a 2-day tour of the coast region. This is to meet with environmental activists and witness the collaboration between the Kenyan Navy and the Royal Marine, who have been training together at the Mtongwe Naval Base in Mombasa. The 26 trained officers will make the newly created Kenyan Marine Commando Unit, or KMCU. The royal couple will complete their state visit tomorrow in Mombasa.
President William Ruto, his deputy Rigathi Gachagua and the First Lady, among other leaders, arrived on time to await the royal couple at the Kenya Navy headquarters in Mtongwe, Mombasa. From the Mombasa Island, the couple arrived later in a boat with heavy police presence. Here, the king, accompanied by President Ruto, took to the dais when the national anthems for the United Kingdom and Kenya played. The king had therefore inspected a guard of honor before the Kenya Marines demonstrated a covert beach landing, having been trained by a special team during the 358th anniversary of the establishment of the Royal Marines. The royal visit continues tomorrow in Mombasa at the Fort Jesus Museum and the Mombasa Cathedral. Paul Munio, TV47, Mombasa.
Now, the visit by King Charles III and Queen Camilla to Kenya has definitely elicited mixed reactions. A section of Kenyans and civil society have demanded that the king issues an apology for the atrocities committed by the British during Kenya's struggle for independence. However, it seems that the idea of the official apology by the king is a price too great for the British crown to bear. This, as in contrast, the German president gives an outright apology to former colony Tanzania for brutality meted out during the Maji Maji uprising over 100 years ago. George Maringa interrogates this contrast.
Even before King Charles III and Queen Camilla arrived in Kenya for their 4-day tour, their trip faced a chilly reception from sections of Kenya's civil society and other players who wanted the monarch to address one issue, a bitter, painful past, and issue an apology.
Unconditional public apology and official acknowledgement of the wrongs which have been committed so far.
Not just to the Mau Mau, but to the people of Kenya. I would have expected that they would have ensured the head of Koitalel Arab Samoei is brought to Kenya before they come.
A state banquet was held on the evening of 31st October, the day they arrived. It was expected that King Charles shall address the British atrocities during the Mau Mau uprising in colonial Kenya in the 1950s. His host, President William Ruto, in his speech at the elaborate banquet, mentioned the word, quote-unquote, reparations.
While there has been efforts to atone for the death, injury, and suffering inflicted on Kenyan Africans by colonial government, much remains to be done in order to achieve full reparations.
King Charles, in his speech, however, stopped short of making a full apology called for by survivors of that period and human rights groups who are pressing for reparations from the British government.
The wrongdoings of the past are a cause of the greatest sorrow and the deepest regret. There were abhorrent and unjustifiable acts of violence committed against Kenyans as they waged, as you said at the United Nations, a painful struggle for independence and sovereignty. And for that, there can be no excuse.
And now, the calls for an apology do not seem to sit well with certain sections of the British society. That is, if this opinion interview by Sky News Australia, featuring Patrick Christie's, a GB News host, is anything to go by. In fact, this section of society believe that Kenya ought to be grateful for the royal visit.
Absolutely the wrong thing to do. The king is supposed to be our envoy around the world, not going around on an international apology tour. And they're trying to spin it as the king stopped short of full frontal apology. Well, that's just a technicality. That was an apology. And but a little bit like this, Andrew, an apology is not enough. Next comes the handout. Next comes money. But, you know, for the Kenyans, we have actually given them billions of pounds over the years.
So this begs the question, what is in an apology?
But here in Kenya, we can speak openly and say there is a lot of work that needs to be done. And the contestation is about our shared past.
Now, while certain former colonial masters look upon the idea of an open apology with reluctance, others, like Germany, have a very different view. At the same time that the British king visited Kenya, the German president Frank-Walter Steinmeier visited Tanzania, where he formally and openly asked for forgiveness for Germany's colonial abuses in Tanzania. Between 200,000 and 300,000 members of the indigenous Tanzanian population were murdered during the Maji Maji uprisings against German rule between 1905 and 1907. When all is said and done, it is clear to everyone that it is important to address the past in the present moment so as to face the future. The bone of contention clearly is how to address it. Will these painful issues be properly put to bed in this generation? Only time will tell. George Maringa, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, George. Now, King Charles III, in his tour of the coastal strip, lauded efforts of local communities in finding sustainable solutions towards marine conservation. This comes even as climate change continues to be the biggest threat to the dwindling ecosystem along the coastal region. Sheila Chelangat reports.
In a true portrayal of his passion for conservation, King Charles III was a visitor to the Nyali Beach, one of the 4 marine parks and reserves facing marine pollution. Here, plastic waste has affected more than 800 marine species along Kenya's territorial waters. Upon his arrival, the king met various eco-campaigners striving to reduce the plastic menace on the ocean, many of who showcased their solutions to the lingering threats of climate change. In one of the stands, King Charles III received a one-of-a-kind throne made purely out of recycled plastic waste. This traditional throne that was made in 1 month incorporates some aspects of the Swahili culture and is made from recycled bottle tops and other plastics. At the heart of these conservation efforts were the youth, which delighted the monarch, who heartily chatted with the young people he met at the stands, appreciating their efforts. And to appreciate the king's vocality on conservation, these Kenyan scouts gifted the king a neckerchief and a badge. Later, the king visited Kuruwitu Conservation Area, where the community came together to deal with the challenge of overfishing and uncontrolled coral collection. The conservation area, with the help of Commonwealth Development Fund, began coral gardening to mitigate the threat. King got to witness a boat take newly restored coral nurseries into the sea and lauded all the efforts being made by the local community. Sheila Chelangat for TV47.
Now, President William Ruto has officially begun his development tour of the coastal region with bags full of goodies. The president, accompanied by his royal guest, King Charles III, who's on the last leg of his historic Kenyan tour. In his first day, the president urged MPs to amend the CDF Act so as to accommodate projects like the ICT hub. The president was accompanied by his deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, and a number of MPs drawn from the coastal area. Paul Kirobi tells us more.
On a special day when King Charles III is finalizing his coastal tour, the head of state, President William Ruto, felt this is the right moment to begin his 5-day development tour in the coastal region that has all along been perceived as opposition stronghold. Paying special attention to the region's status as one of the country's economic powerhouse, the head of state had to reassure the coastal people of his commitment to perennial local issues like the rate of unemployment and slow development. The president carefully addressing the issue of the port of Mombasa, which has in the recent past been a focal point for bitter controversy over calls for privatization.
Natafuta waegezaji. Mimi hakikisho langu kwenu ni kwamba port ya Mombasa will never be privatized. That you have my word. Lakini port ya Mombasa tutaifanyia investment. Tutaleta watu ambao watatusaidia kupanua hiyo port.
Still on the matter's development, President William Ruto urged his MPs to amend the Constituency Development Fund so as to enable construction of an ICT hub that will help to create more employment opportunities among the youth.
Hatutaki tena tuwe na vijana ambao hawana namna, hawana vile ya kujimudu, hawana vile wanaweza kusaidia familia zao ama kujisaidia wenyewe.
In his first day, the president had a meet-a-people tour in areas of Mombasa and Kwale. While in Kwale, the president commissioned a mini electricity grid, part of the 7 solar mini grids that will connect islands and off-grid regions in the country.
Utafanya kazi na viongozi wote pasipo misingi ya vyama, misingi ya siasa, misingi ya dini. Mimi nina hakika hiyo ndiyo itakuwa funguo.
Leo hii umetuanzishia rasmi mradi ule wa mataa, mradi ambao sisi kama county government tumetengeneza landing site, lakini bado hatuja equip. Na leo vile baba umefika, mimi nina imani sitakuwa na stress sana ku budget.
The head of state later in the day inspected the Dongo Kundu Road as well as the Mombasa Mtwapa Road. On Friday, he is expected to chair a cabinet meeting at State House Mombasa, an event that will be succeeded by a tour of the Moi International Airport. On the same day, he is scheduled to preside over the Taxpayers' Day and later issue community fisheries grants in the same county. On Saturday, the head of state will be in Lamu, where he will commission the Lamu East Road before embarking on an inspection tour of the Lamu Technical Training Institute and the Bura Irrigation Scheme. Paul Kirobi, TV47.
Now, Machakos University students took to the streets to protest delayed disbursement of capitation money and HELB loans. A section of student leaders drawn from various universities and TVET institutions last week threatened to stage countrywide demonstrations over the same. Today, transport was disrupted for close to 2 hours along the Machakos-Wote Road as students engaged police officers in running battles. Andreen Kilemi with that report.
Irate students of Machakos University barricaded the Machakos-Wote Road early Thursday, bringing to a halt businesses and disrupting transportation for close to 2 hours. The students were protesting delayed disbursement of capitation funds and HELB loans.
I want to state unequivocally, without any fear of violence, without any fear of contradiction, without any fear of prejudice, that this government does not value education. Why does it take them too long to release help to our various students? Why?
They lamented that they were not involved in the review of the new university funding model, further calling on the national government to change its system and position regarding the new model.
They intentionally decided not to give the students, especially the first years, their money that they have been demanding for the past 2 months. They promised to give them some upkeep and some loan when they are joining the school. But up to now, they have not received the money.
Earlier this year, the government, through the Ministry of Education, introduced a new funding system for university students in the country that provides students with grants and loans based on their financial needs. Andreen Kilemi, TV47.
Public Service Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria will now have extra responsibilities. This is according to Executive Order Number 2 issued by President William Ruto on Thursday. This is after the performance contract docket and the government delivery services previously domiciled under the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi's docket were transferred to Kuria's docket. Also affected in the new executive order is the government spokesperson Isaac Mwaura, who was previously under the Ministry of Information and Technology. Have a look.
Public Service Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria appears to have benefited from the recent cabinet shake-up after President William Ruto's Executive Order Number 2 hived off certain factions from Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi's docket to Kuria's office. According to Executive Order Number 2, which supersedes Executive Order Number 1, the CS will now take charge of the performance of all ministries, departments and agencies, with the government's delivery services, previously Presidential Delivery Unit, also falling under his docket. Mudavadi, however, still remains in charge of supervision and coordination of all government ministries. The new changes comes in the wake of reports of a power struggle between Mudavadi and Kuria over offices, claims that CS Kuria has since dismissed. Also affected by the executive order is the government spokesperson Isaac Mwaura, whose office has been moved from the Ministry of Information and Communication to the Presidency and the head of the public service, Felix Koskei. Also affected was the digital economy, which will now be a state department with its own principal secretary. Former Cabinet Secretary Aden Mohamed has been promoted from the President's Council of Economic Advisors to the Chief of Strategy Execution to help Kenya Kwanza deliver its agenda. Aden Mohamed has been a crucial figure in President William Ruto's trips abroad, raising eyebrows during the United Nations General Assembly in September, when he was introduced as a Cabinet Secretary and Economic Advisor to President Ruto. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Now, as the world commemorates the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists, this year's theme seeks to give visibility to the role of a safe and free press in ensuring the integrity of elections in our democratic systems. In Kenya, various media stakeholders congregated in Kisumu to mark this important day, which coincides with the day when 2 French journalists were assassinated in Mali. Media Council of Kenya CEO David Omoyo termed acts of violation of journalists' rights, including impersonation, a major drawback to press freedom in Kenya and the globe in totality. While Senior Assistant Director at the Office of the Directorate of Public Prosecution, Tabitha Ouya, said that the office has put in place policy documents that guide the exercise of prosecutorial mandate, adding that the Office of the DPP will be able to improve on these policy documents to make sure that journalists and the journalists that put themselves out there for the sake of democracy are protected by the law.
Look at this year now, we are on November the 2nd and we are at 110 cases of attacks against journalists. That is quite a high number. And hizo kesi ziko kila mahali. We have cases of police, we have public, in very sad cases sometimes, very junior, school-going children in places being mobilized against the media.
The manner in which cases data is captured in our work, we do not segregate an attack against a journalist. If it's an assault, it's an assault. So when we do our reporting, we report assault cases, we report homicide cases, gender-based violence cases, and we do not separate.
Now, the Kenya Revenue Authority has justified the recent searches conducted at clearance terminals as part of the clearance procedure. I beg your pardon. I would like to take that again. Would you please? I beg your indulgence. The Kenya Revenue Authority has justified the recent searches conducted at clearance terminals as part of the clearance procedure as stipulated by the law. This is after netizens highlighted concerns over the baggage handling, especially when jetting back into the country, saying the manner of scanning of personal items was invasive. The taxman now says that flagged items by agents will incur taxation, which will be imposed on goods above the value of $500, as stipulated in East African law. However, KRA is in the process of reviewing this regulation to a higher limit soon, as a relief to Kenyans travelling back into the country. And funding of MSMEs will be aligned to the government's bottom-up agenda. This is as the government gears towards pushing for 100% financial inclusivity, especially for marginalized groups. This in accordance to what the Cooperatives and MSMEs Cabinet Secretary Simon Cheligui's statement, which says that expanding funding bases meant for small businesses will only be viable if there is a solid way of establishing its benefits directly to those who need it the most, by using a database of identification and accountability. Mr. Chelugui said this as he was inaugurating the Wezo Board Fund, where he tasked the force with ensuring enhanced support of and the upskilling of entrepreneurs.
The real impact of your service is when you switch on, when you open a classroom, when you open a tap of water, when you do maybe community work, support women groups. That is the real power and impact of the service that we do. So, from your perspective, it is the turning around, the enabling, the empowerment, the lifting of vulnerable members of society. The Kenya Kwanza plan underscores the importance of digital transformation as a crucial driver of Kenya's economic growth and development. It is imperative for the fund to upgrade legacy applications and traditional processes with digital technologies, altering how it operates, how value is delivered, how employees work, and how customer needs are met.
Now, the National Social Security Fund, or NSSF, is owed 2.7 billion shillings in pension liabilities by county governments across the country. Appearing before the Senate County Public Investments Committee, NSSF Managing Trustee David Koros told senators that the fund is also owed 1.8 billion shillings by defunct local authorities, which is a subject that has become a major challenge in running their daily operations, with Koros now urging the Senate to come up with legislation on compulsory remittance of dues.
Speaking in an appearance before the Senate County Public Investments Committee, NSSF Managing Trustee David Koros revealed that counties have an outstanding debt of 2.7 billion shillings, which includes accrued penalties from their late remittances. Koros further revealing to senators that the fund is also owed 1.8 billion shillings by defunct local authorities, asking the Senate to intervene.
The funds owed to us by defunct local authorities is 1,873,078,769. This includes arrears or contributions in arrears of 224,448,850.
He further told senators that they have been making a follow-up on outstanding contributions, debts owed by county governments through engagements and sensitization forums on the National Social Security Fund through NSSF field offices located across the country.
Or it's you, the employer, or the sponsor, who has made the deduction, and you are holding that money. Because it's not the employee who's holding the money. It is presumably the employer. You are making him lose on investment opportunities that should have been done. So the law thought it wise that then to teach you a lesson, you must pay a penalty.
Koros proposed a solution for reconciliation and validation of amounts owed with respect to defunct local authorities and prompt submissions of accurate and complete returns and provisions of payroll information to NSSF offices undertaking routine compliance activities, since no government has instituted payment plan in recent months to clear outstanding contribution dues.
Beneficiaries, because if it's not for them, then you'll not really be penalizing. Apart from the interest that you've mentioned, as far as these penalties, who benefits from these amounts of penalties?
It's not the same. So my question is simply, why are you not charging interest as a penalty? Because interest in itself can also be a penalty.
The operative word is penalty within the meaning of our act. It is actually penalty. So for me, Eddie, it's neither here nor there, but the operative word for NSSF Act is penalty.
The Godfrey Otsotsi-led committee stating that they will support legislation to make it compulsory for employers to remitting NSSF contributions to the fund as required, and that there must be measures to deter the defaulting of payments. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47, Nairobi.
Right, and with that, we wish to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have more for you. On Inside Tonight, we want to talk about UHC. What do we need to do to change this ambitious plan into a prosperous and auspicious reality? All that and so much more after the break. Please keep it right here. The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for. That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Moyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the home of Untold Stories.
Katika majengo haya, hapa ndipo sheria zinapotungwa na zinapopakuliwa. Nitakuletea viongozi mbalimbali, mirengo mbalimbali, wote kwa pamoja wakipika na kupakua. Tutawapa nafasi kuweza kuangazia changamoto na mafanikio ya ugatuzi katika ukumbi wa siasa kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 1 kamili na kuendelea.
Toka eneo hili la Naivasha kwenye kaunti 032, gatuzi la Nakuru.
Toka kaunti ya Elgeyo Marakwet, kaunti 028.
Nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Wajir.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Turukana.
Kwa matukio yote yanayojiri katika kaunti hii 012.
Kutoka kaunti nambari 1, kaunti ya Mombasa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Lamu.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka Kisii County.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Machakos.
Kutoka kaunti hii ya Trans Nzoia.
Kaunti 038.
Kutoka gatuzi nambari 029, kaunti ya Nandi, chemichemi ya mabingwa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Kakamega.
Itakuwa nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Bungoma.
Jina langu ni Paula Munio.
Willy Dennis Jiru.
Fabian Kibet.
Mimi ni Hashim Jimal.
Mimi ni Kitio Mika Masai.
John Javakiania.
Jina langu ni Abdulaziz Nameka.
Mimi ni Kombo Alfayo.
Jina langu ni Nicholas Mbai.
Isaac Famba.
Mimi ni Wanji Sosti.
Jina langu ni Arnold Adidi.
Jina langu ni Chris Bet.
Jina langu ni Violet Auma.
Na TV47 inapotamba, mimi Sheila Chelangat nitakuwa nikiripotia maswala yanayokuhusu wewe kila kuchao. Every Thursday 7:30 p.m. unapata nafasi kufahamu viongozi mbalimbali kutoka humu nchini, kuanzia wabunge.
Through Changa, we could get money to pay our rent, to pay our bills.
When I was growing up, water was a problem where I was born and bred. We wake up at 3 to go and look for water.
Magavana
must be ready to be a tough woman and not a woman to be walked over.
Kwa hivyo
but you respect people.
Ndani ya Mfahamu Kiongozi, story na historia, na mi Elizabeth Mutuku.
Good evening and welcome to Insight Tonight. Tonight I have a wonderful guest who is an insider in the subject that we have in store for you this evening. It's all about healthcare. It's all about health for everybody. The government recently had an ambitious plan, and that plan is being implemented as we're talking right now. And with us here is one of the people who are integral in the implementation of that plan. And he's here to help us have an idea of exactly how this is going to work, what is expected of us as citizens, what can we expect from government, and so on and so forth. Karibu sana. You're welcome.
Thank you.
With us today is Dr. Salim Ali Hussein, who looks after public health, right? That's at the Ministry of Health, your primary health care, rather, at the Ministry of Health. Thank you so much for joining us.
I think we really appreciate for the invitation.
Your career is quite interesting. If we may just, talk about it for a second. You have a passion in what you're doing. You're not just a practicing medical practitioner, but you're at policy level. You're at bird's eye view, so to speak, on the Kenyan healthcare system. Can you tell us what is it about healthcare that pulled you into this?
Initially, when I was very young, actually, I wanted to be a pilot.
Is that so?
Yes. One day I was going to school, still in primary school. I saw somebody who actually broke his arm, and I felt I should have been able to help in a way. Then I said I could be a flying doctor so that the pilot can help people. So it generated an interest for me that how could I help in one of the other, right. And especially at the community level.
The community level,
yes.
Which is where, that's really the first line of defense.
Yes.
But tell me, when you were growing up, what was the state of the Kenyan healthcare system?
Yeah, basically, I think for me, as an adult, as a young adult, we used to have, I think, a bit of a challenge getting healthcare because you needed to have funds for your parents, for the family. And as far as I could know, my father did not have a cover. Mm-hmm. So whenever we used to go to hospital or we needed any health care, it was an issue of we need to look for funds first.
Right. Yeah. And indeed, today it's the same situation because it's a very common saying that most Kenyans are just one disease away from poverty.
Yeah, I think it is true. There's a lot of what we call out of pocket, where Mwananchi actually has to get back to his pocket, literally, to get health services. But I think that is one of the things that the current government wants to change, so that we can have a cover that is covering everybody. Unfortunately, currently, the insurance health cover in Kenya is only about 21%, and about 1% is private, and the other 20 is actually from the government, which the government is thinking of changing, especially with the recent Social Health Insurance Act that the president signed. Actually, the intention is to have more than 80% of Kenyans in the cover. We all come together, especially that word social means that we all have a part to play, right. Because we will be contributing a little amount, but this little amount, when we are many, actually it will make a lot of somewhere, and it will help us when we are in need.
Okay. Now, what you've said is one of the changes to Kenyan health policy, or even the whole landscape of the Kenyan health system, and it's part of arguably the biggest change in maybe slightly over 20 years. For those who are watching and maybe are still unfamiliar with exactly what is going to change under the new system, would you care to tell us, some of the highlights of what people can expect to be different compared to what it was before?
Yeah, I think the main two changes that the current government and the Minister of Health is envisaging in changing in healthcare. One is to have a more of a preventive, promotive health system, so that we are not focused on curative. We are not waiting for people to be sick and then we give them services from the hospital. We want actually the more than 95% who are still healthy, who are not sick. How do we maintain their status of being healthy? Because one, it is cheaper to maintain people as their health, and it is more productive. We know economically, in terms of socially, if the people are healthy, actually the nation will be. So there'll be more focus on preventive, promotive health, and then protecting the health that you have. So there will be a lot of screening, things that people themselves can do so that they can maintain their health, things that people can do to prevent diseases, but also from the facility levels, which are some of the things that services that can get, but they're more of screening, they're preventive. I think the other big second change in terms of healthcare in Kenya, it will be actually the constitutional, the legal mandate. That's why there are several legal processes, and we are glad that the president has signed several acts now, like the Primary Health Care Act, which actually is the one which will be institutionalizing the preventive promotive health, which we will be working through the primary health care. We have the facility improvement financing, which basically is looking at whatever funds, revenues that are generated by any health facility, it will go back and improve the services at that same place. I think then the big one, which is the social health insurance that the government is coming in, it is an improved version of the former National Health Insurance Fund, the NHIF. Basically, it is coming up with the 3 funds in one. So there'll be a public health fund, a publicly financed services, which is actually the primary health care fund. Then we'll have the social health insurance fund, which will be basically taking care of the curative services that the national health insurance used to take care. But the government also now has increased another fund on top of that, which we call it the chronic illness and emergency fund. So basically what that will be doing, if somebody has depleted his other funds, the social health insurance fund, and you still need services, especially for people with chronic illness, yes, for example, diabetes, renal diseases, heart diseases. So if your fund is depleted, then the chronic and emergency funds sets in, so that you'll still have services despite that your fund has been depleted. So I think basically for me, those are the big main changes currently. The way we are doing our healthcare, we want to move from a very curative, where people just think health is gotten from the hospital. But the time people go to the hospital, you actually don't have health. You're sick. You either need to repair your health or you need now to go get back your health. Yes.
Are you a sports fan?
Yes. I love soccer. And swimming.
Let me talk to you about soccer, for example. If your job is a midfielder, say an attacking midfielder, or your job is a goalkeeper, and the coach comes and tells you, we're going to play a different strategy, a different formation, 4-4-2 to something else, and it requires, of course, that kind of change will require a tactical change as well as an operational change on the field. So if we relate that to the health systems, the health personnel, are there any changes that people should expect in how they conduct their day-to-day operations in order to allow them to execute this new mindset, this new tactic of more preventive and promotive than curative?
Yes. I think there'll be a lot of, one, mindset change. There's also be, which I might call preparation or preparatory changes. For example, in terms of the education system, the training system, it also has to focus more on a preventive promotive, unlike what it is currently.
So wait, you mean the way doctors are trained and nurses and other health practitioners, how they're trained will have to change?
Yes, basically, we just have a more urgency and importance to more of preventive promotive. It's not that they are not doing it. They are still doing it. But what we expect is that there will be now more focus, more impotence, and also maybe more time to the same. Of course, medical school, they go through what we call community health. They go through preventive promotive. But with the focus now with preventive and promotive, we hope, and we are working with all stakeholders, including the academia, on how we can enhance that. But also the training and the planning level during the implementation. Currently, what we are doing, we're actually reorienting the people into this primary healthcare model. In Kenya, we have what we call the hub and spoke model. Hub and spoke model, basically what we are looking at is making the facilities that are there and the different levels. We have 6 different levels in Kenya. From the community level, that we call level 1, level 2, which is more of the dispensary, most of the facilities that are next to the community. Then we have the health centers. They have more services. Now they give more expertise services.
That will be level 3.
That is level 3. Then we have level 4, which we call the current sub-county primary health referral facilities. So these are the hubs we are talking about, and we want them to link with the level 3, level 2, and level 1, so that they work as a team. Actually, what we are calling the primary health care network. Then this primary health care network will have a technical team that we call the multidisciplinary team, so that instead of people working in the silos, they'll work together. So the expertise will go down. So the level 5, which is more of the referral facility, county facility, they give very specialized care. Then the level 6 is the tertiary facilities like the Kenyatta, the Moi Teaching and Referral, our spinal injury, our Madare is also one
Those
of...
at the national level, like
and
a very big level.
Very specialized.
And it's good that you should say that, because one of the criticisms for our systems is that you find even people with common codes showing up at a national referral hospital, all of them requiring the same resources that exist there, entirely bypassing all these other levels, and sometimes for very good reason, that they're not good enough or they're too far and so on. Now, there's a concern by some people who feel that this plan might take a while to come into play fully. And that, you know, the way it's been put out has inspired a lot of confidence and a lot of hype and a lot of anticipation. And a question would emerge from such a person, and they would ask, okay, so how long shall it take, realistically speaking, before we start to feel the change in mindset and the change in approach from merely curative or priority on curative to now preventive and promotive healthcare? How long can Kenyans expect to feel the change?
One, I want to say that this new model we are bringing in, or we want now to focus on it, is actually a refocus, reloading. It's not really new. Since 1978, in Alma-Ata Declaration, where Kenya was one of the countries that committed to the same, there has been that focus on primary health care. And from 1960, after 1978, we already had, as Kenya, a primary health care strategy. But what now we are doing differently is that now we are bringing standards that we can actually show the people how do you implement this primary health care. So we are not leaving it to them to do it by default. In terms of how soon they can get or feel the changes, I can say is actually immediate. In some of the counties where we have formed what we are calling the primary health care networks that I've just talked to, alluded to, we find like in counties like Garissa, where we started actually in 2020, actually. That was the first county that we started. Then we went to Kisumu and Kwale. Those are some of the first ones. Now we have almost 65 primary health care networks. We intend to do 315 in the whole counties. We are targeting each sub-county. So in these counties that we have established the primary health care networks, for example, in Garissa, we know, we have heard their pictures that now their surgeries, which never used to be done in health care, in health centers, now they're being done. In Kwale, we know now, recently, there are so many people who are in the household, they have been identified with diabetes and hypertension, which they didn't know. And this is just in a matter, Kwale we started in this December. Already, there are many people that have been identified. In Kisumu, where they have started the primary healthcare networks because of this support of hubs and all that, we have even seen that they're sending commodities, medicine to far-fetched area using drones.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we are seeing now more of services going down. There are family physicians or doctors or health workers who used to stay and wait at the hub to wait for people who are sick, yes, for them to treat or to manage. But now we are seeing a lot of those health workers going down. For example, even doing cesarean section in the health centers, managing chronic diseases after people have been put on medicine in the lower level. So we're also reducing what you're saying, self-referral, people going to the higher tertiary level where you have maybe something which could be managed at the lower level, or it's a simple disease, but because maybe you didn't see the expertise there were no commodities, so people used to refer themselves. So now we are reducing that, and we are really feeling that in the areas that we already set the primary healthcare network. So what really we have done is not something new, but now there's more coordination. People are talking, the levels are talking. So whether you increase the commodities or human resource or not, but the little that is there, now you can easily use it more efficiently.
Yes. Now, perhaps the other question now would be, with this change, you said it's not a new change, it's
reorientation.
A reorientation, a reloading of sorts. The Kenyan health system has suffered or gone through a lot of personnel retention problems. All across Africa, people are going to other places to seek greener pastures. It is said, they call it brain drain, or in this case, our health personnel who are very, very well trained are failing to find positions within our system. How big is retention a problem for this plan, to be effective properly?
Okay, for this plan, as we are setting, there are several things that the Minister of Health, with the support of the government, that has been doing before actually started implementing the same. Some of the things that the Minister of Health did, for example, is it actually assessed all the facilities in Kenya, about 15,000 health facilities, including private, public, and faith-based, just to know, one, what are the type of services that these facilities are giving, two, to know what are the gaps in this facility, one of which you have mentioned, which is the human resource. What are the gaps? Currently in Kenya, we are at about, according to the World Health Organization standard, we are at 1.38, and actually, ideally, it should be 4.5. So we are still far from the ideal situation. But we're also assessing other things like commodities. We actually have an idea what is the average commodities availability, essential medicine and commodities in those facilities. We also know the type quality of services that they're doing because of some of the assessment we have done. So this will enable us to rectify, add, or try and solve the issues. Where we cannot, now we look at which other effective mechanism like the primary healthcare networks, so that we can use the same number of facility, human resource, but to give more services. One of the other bill, which we are glad that the President signed, was the digital health bill. This digital health bill will support us to give more services remotely. We know currently, even at the community level, where the President actually launched the 100,000 community health volunteers, they've been given a smart mobile phone. So now when they go to the household, instead of the paper-based tools they used to do, now they'll be collecting that data digitally.
Just on that point, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, how transformational is that going to be to health records and telemedicine and even the pace of treatment from diagnosis to treatment? How transformative is that going to be?
I think for me it will be very drastic, and I think it's an area that is really supporting us in planning. For one, when our community health promoters used to collect the data of using paper-based tool, it used to take around a month, because they'll go to the household, which they're given about 100, then they'll need to summarize those households that they have done. And then they used to give it to the supervisor, who we call a community health assistant or community health officer. He used to also now summarize all of them in his summary. There's a summary tool. Once he summarizes that, they used to take it to a facility, to the health record health officer, information officer, who needs now to upload it into our Kenya Health Information System. With the digital system, it goes direct. These other levels can only see what is being done. They can check, they can validate, but it goes direct. So with the information in real time. So with the information from all the households, it's actually better than a census. Census, it is a sample. So for us, we can actually ideally have almost the information that we need from the household, including the number of people. That will help us to know the population. It will help us to know the condition in the households. That will help us to plan in terms of medicine, in terms of prioritizing the actual diseases in those areas. It also helps us to know a condition which are not basically diseases, but which need health attention. For example, pregnancy, children who need to be immunized, and we can plan. So it is really going to be a game changer.
All right. Now, you have told us a lot about what the government is doing, what your ministry is doing, and what health workers across the country will be doing. What can we do as citizens of this country? What is our own responsibility to make sure that this dream becomes a reality?
Yeah, I think before I answer that directly, the current state, especially with the Ministry of Health, we are trying to be very inclusive. Even with the primary healthcare networks that I'm talking about, part of the management will just not be ministry people, not just government people. We will include faith-based people, our donors, people who we are working with, partners. The community will be part of it, and other stakeholders, even the non-health sector. For example, the Ministry of Housing, ICT, we're working with them very closely. We're working with the roads people. Accessibility physically is very important for us. The agriculture sector is very important because of nutrition and all that. Directly to your question, we really expect that the community, the individuals, that they'll actually take this, what we are taking to the house, afya nyumbani, to be jukumu lao, afya yao jukumu lao.
Okay.
Or our health, our responsibilities.
Afya yangu jukumu langu.
Yes, afya yetu jukumu letu. So that we all have a role to play. Okay. For the individuals, one and foremost, what is most important is for them to take care of their health. It is an asset. We want to equip them, want to give them basic education, to give them the capacity and to empower them so that they retain their health. One, it is very expensive for one to be sick, but two, when you're healthy, you can do your normal duties, chores well, and the nation can be more productive. But more importantly, we're thinking with these changes, especially what we're talking about, the social health insurance, we need all of us to participate. The government wants everybody to chip in, and you'll chip in according to your social economic status. Yeah, it will not be just one fit all. If the president talked about, the president talked about even from 300 shilling.
I see.
For those people who can. Right. And those who can do more, they should do more. But what more importantly is that will only all of us benefit if all participate in contribution. We'll all understand that we should take care of our health, and we'll all support each other in this, so that it's not a government thing, but it is our thing.
So
this jukumu letu.
All right. And on that note, Dr. Hussain, thank you so much for joining us this evening. This is a huge topic. We've only attempted to cover some of it, but I appreciate your insights tonight. And as we wind up, and this is a one-word answer, I hope looking back you can be happy or proud of what that little boy who saw the man with a broken arm is able to do today.
Very much.
Absolutely. And on that note, we wish to bid you good night. May the good Lord bless you, and may you have a wonderful few days remaining for the rest of the week ahead. Up next is VAR with the great Ahmed Bahaj, who is with me this evening. Habari gani? Umesikia kwamba afya yako jukumu lako? Ndio. Mazoezi, yeah? Dr. Hussain, it's really...
Mazoezi muhimu.
Mazoezi muhimu. I couldn't have said it better myself.